What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
6WR. Chapter 126 Angry Zephyr, Lin An makes a move. Advertise here. Chapter 126 Angry Zephyr, Lin An shots. The reason Zephyr is now insane is because of that monster, Newgate Weeble. Everyone knows whether Weeble is Whitebeard's son or not. Zephyr had already laid his grief on Whitebeard. You old man. Why didn't Summit War kill you? If you talk about this kind of thing, it depends on the person next to you now. Whitebeard's response was crisp. All the credit was given to Lin An directly. So, hearing what Whitebeard said, Zephyr turned his head to look at Lin An, with a hint of disbelief in his eyes. Are you the fifth emperor of the sea that is rumored recently, helping the Whitebeard pirates escape from Marineford and defeating Kaido's pirate instructor, Lin An? Lin An looked at the shocked Zephyr and nodded. It's me. 727. But the credit is not entirely on me, it all depends on everyone in the Whitebeard Pirates. After all, no matter how strong I am, I can't handle everyone, and I'm not a lone ranger like Mihawk, am I? Asshole. Zephyr was furious. Blue veins appeared on the whole face. I was actually saved by a pirate. Zephyr's current mood is very complicated. His dislike and disgust for pirates is beyond words, but now it is the pirates who have saved him. This matter can be said to be very dramatic. It seems that Lin An has something to do with you, so I'll wait for you to deal with it first. In the phone bug, Whitebeard's voice came out again. Okay, Dad, you go to work first, I will contact you after I solve this matter first. Whitebeard on the other side of the phone bug answered and hung up. Zephyr Admiral, hasn't he disappeared for several years? Moby Dick aboard. Marger looked at Whitebeard puzzled. The reason Whitebeard contacted Lin An was because Marine had evacuated at Punk Hazard. He wanted to ask Lin An if he had found anything and if he needed support. I'm curious too. Whitebeard had a look of excitement on his face. I recalled a little bit the news I got from the phone bug just now. He could tell that Zephyr should be in some trouble, and just happened to meet Lin An who was driving at sea. Pirates can also save people. After all, no one knows whether they will encounter shipwreck or enemy attacks in the future. Rescuing people in distress at sea is the unspoken rule for people traveling at sea, and it is also a good rule for everyone. Now it seems that Lin An's place has become more interesting. As an old opponent, Whitebeard knew Zephyr well. He is not worried about Lin An's safety either. After all, with Lin An's strength now, it is not difficult to deal with a Zephyr with a broken arm. According to Lin An's personality, since you didn't kill Zephyr directly, you just want to bring Zephyr under your command. Now it depends on whether the old guy can hold Lin An's fist or Lin An's mouth. Lin An is particularly famous for two flash points in the Whitebeard Pirates. The first point is naturally the almost invincible strength. The second point is his mouth. The Whitebeard Pirates are indeed different from other pirates, but they are pirates after all. If Lin An's words were not contagious, how could they obediently practice with Lin An? Although it is said that becoming stronger is something that everyone yearns for. But those who can become the Whitebeard Pirates, even the reserve team, are definitely not weak. They come to be pirates instead of going to the village where they are. The country's guards are not because they are inherently evil, most of them are being lazy makes it easier to be a pirate. Lin An is able to persuade this group of people and participate in his practice, eloquence is essential. Really. Listen to Whitebeard. If Lin An can bring back Admiral, it will be a very interesting thing. Gu la la la. Whitebeard grinned at the thought of Zephyr potentially becoming one of his own crew members. This is another piece of news that is enough to shock the world. Pirate, all die. The 17th Squadron is on board. Zephyr looked at Lin An's whole body, and his whole body had undergone earth-shaking changes. The original kindness and even some silly looks disappeared completely. His eyes were full of anger. The mechanical arm above the right hand is directly hitting Lin An. Everyone get out. Feeling Zephyr's almost insane change. Lin An frowned slightly. Immediately arranged for the other pirates who are eating to leave. A wave of shock fruit's energy condensed from his hand, and he directly met Zephyr's fist. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament hockey perception experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power, close black lens bracket. The quality of this attribute is not bad, it is worthy of the previous generation of Marine Admiral. Bang. There was a muffled sound. The porcelain bowls and chopsticks in the entire restaurant were shattered by the aftermath of the shock. Only some wooden things were avoided. Tisk. It's really not a small loss. Feel the changes around you. Lin An was speechless. That's a plate. Could it be that I and my brothers will eat hand-picked rice in the future? How can it be? The Zephyr on the other end was completely sluggish. He looked at Lin An's fist in disbelief. It's not surprising that Lin An can withstand his own punch. After all, Lin An is the most powerful person who can defeat Kaido. What surprised him was that Lin An was not affected by his right fist. The ability that Lin An used just now means that he is definitely a devil fruit capable person. But how is it possible not to be affected by Seastone? Are you doubting my ability? Lin An looked at the confused Zephyr. After thinking about it for a while, he didn't know how to respond to this matter. I can only tell you that my abilities are innate. Finally, Lin An threw all the problems to his physique. This seems very perfunctory, but it is also convincing enough. In the 4.7 world of One Piece, there are many capable people and strange people, and there are also many people with special physiques. There are also various racial talents. This seemingly absurd reason reached Zephyr's ears, but it made him believe it. I see. Nod slightly. The killing intent on his face didn't decrease but increased. The whole person's gaze towards Lin An was close to going berserk. Hey. Seeing Zephyr's undisguised killing intent, Lin An felt a little aggrieved. In any case, I'm also your savior. Is that how you treat your savior? If you don't repay your kindness, it's no wonder that Marine will kick you out of the Marine system. Chapter 127. Come be my crew member. Advertise here. Chapter 127. Come be my crew. Crap. Lin An's words directly made Zephyr go berserk. He punched Lin An. It's Laozi who doesn't want to F*K with Marine's group of insects anymore. It's not that Laozi was kicked out by Marine, do you understand, boy? Crack. Kachacha. At this time, there was a sound of mechanical operation. I saw that Zephyr's metal arm began to change at this time. There was a burst of cylinder sound. His body was already leaping high at this moment. The black and purple armament hockey has already wrapped the mechanical arm. Armament hockey winding. Seeing Zephyr's move, Lin An was also a little surprised. To know, this is Zephyr's robotic arm. This is already armament hockey's out-of-body entanglement. As expected of Zephyr Admiral. For this, Lin An expressed his sincere admiration and praise. Even Kaido, who has the world's strongest creature, and Garp, the owner of the strongest armed color recognized by most people, the two of them can't do, or show that the armed color is more than 1 meter away from the original. This Zephyr is worthy of being an existence that can become a top 24 general in the legendary era of the previous generation. Its strength should not be underestimated. Quote. Shock Fruit's energy pool. Lin An punched out directly. Break. Shock Fruit's fist collided with Zephyr's. It directly caused a wave of small vibrations around. For a while, the tables, chairs and benches are almost unable to withstand the impact of this intensity. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament hockey perception experience. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power. Close black lens bracket. You picked up 1 point. One after another, several attributes were absorbed into Lin An's body. Lin An looked at the restaurant with a little distress. This is where they eat. If the fight continued, they might be starving before returning to the Moby Dick. Go out and fight. There was a sharpness in his eyes. Lin An turned into a golden brilliance, which is the ability of sparkling fruit. The hand directly grasped Zephyr's body, and flung it vigorously towards the sky. Zephyr went right through the planking of the ship. Was thrown into the air by Lin An. You kid, you actually have the ability of double fruit. Zephyr stabilizes himself with moonwalk. He looked at Lin An, who flew out in disbelief. He is both familiar and unfamiliar with Lin An. The reason for the familiarity is that Lin An is the most lively and famous person in Dahai recently. Through the newspapers, he learned a lot about Lin An. The big event of Impel Down, the rescue operation of Summit War and the single challenge victory over Kaido. All of this was reported by the newspapers. However, he didn't know what kind of power Lin An possessed. The reward order can be said to be the most comprehensive place to record Lin An's information. However, there is no record of Lin An's ability, but only a super high-level bounty of 4 billion Baileys. To know, even the 4 emperors such as Big Mom, Sherlock Linlin and Beasts, Kaido have gradually increased from 1 billion, 2 billion, and so on to the present bounty. There were only 3 changes in Lin An's reward order. In the beginning, the deputy captain gave a reward of 60 million Bailey. Killing Jack for the second time gave a billion-level reward. The third adjustment to the bounty is now the 4 billion Bailey bounty that ranks among the top 10 in the world. This is scorpion shit in the entire history of Marine bounties, the only one. Interesting. It seems that Marine has a great need for you. Even unwilling to report your complete information. Really? Lin An nodded. He also understands why. If your shock fruit and sparkling fruit are not afraid of things like seawater and seastone being known to outsiders. This news is definitely no less a big event than the discovery of Roger's treasure. After all, the reason why Roger's treasure makes the world government nervous is because it definitely contains something that can change the perception of the world. And Lin An's own secret is also something that can impact the perception of the world. However, they saved me some trouble by doing so. Lin An shrugged. Most of the powerful forces in this world were present on the Summit War video phone bug and the 4 Emperors battle, and learned about Lin An's ability. But, these forces more or less hold secrets from hundreds of years ago. They can only imagine that Lin An has received the benefits of hundreds of years ago. Not making a fuss about it. Such a thing, as long as it is not seen by ordinary people. Look at Zephyr. The more Lin An watched, the more satisfied she became. As long as you treat people kindly when you are not facing pirates, there is no doubt about your strength. This is a very suitable person to be a comrade in arms. And his 17th team also needed someone other than himself to take over the place. Although Shake is obedient enough and stronger than the average supernova, it can reach the strength of a reward of about 400 million Baileys, but it is not enough for Lin An's current predicament. If Lin An can choose a strong person to be his right and left hand at will, Zephyr is obviously a suitable choice. Would you like to come to my boat? To your ship? Listening to Lin An's words, Zephyr just froze in place. Afterwards, the corners of his mouth trembled, and his whole body became a little crazy. Are you dreaming? Zephyr only felt that Lin An was crazy. How much he hates the pirate Lin An is visible. Now they want to pull him on a pirate ship. How is 637 possible? Impossible. During the conversation, the Zephyr metal arm is again covered with armament hockey. The right fist hits Lin An directly. Jun. Shock fruit gathered on Lin An's side. While thinking about how to persuade Zephyr. Break. The most basic shock fruit application. Paired with Lin An to gain almost unsolvable power. Collided directly with Zephyr. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament hockey perception experience. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a copy. Close black lens bracket. The attribute dropped by Zephyr enters the body. Although Zephyr's attributes are of very high quality. But Lin An's current thinking is not at all to improve his own strength. After thinking for a while, he turned his attention to Zephyr again. Because he knew that things were not comprehensive, he could only be tentative little by little. Lin An spoke again. As you can see, my ship is not like other pirate ships. Although he can't be said to be a good person, he will never do evil. Only by boarding my boat will your revenge be possible, and your bloody revenge will be avenged. Chapter 128 Lin An's Strength, Zephyr's Entanglement. Advertise here. Chapter 128 Lin An's Strength, Zephyr's Entanglement. The reason why Zephyr hates pirates so much is naturally that bastard Wable. This guy Wable is considered the top even among the powerhouses of the Emperor's deputy level. Zephyr does have what it takes to kill him. But with the support of Marine's intelligence network, he couldn't catch Wable. Now that he has left Marine and lost Marine's intelligence network, how could he catch Wable? Absurd. Zephyr was furious, and retorted. I am for justice, not for revenge. Come on, clear your head. For Zephyr's statement, Lin An felt speechless for a while. Of course he knew that these masters had their own persistence. However, it is more or less shameless to say such high-sounding words. If it's really just for justice, how could they be angry and separate from Marine? As for Lin An's claim that he can avenge Zephyr, this is not groundless. Wable has always been active in New World. And Marine in New World does not mean that there is no branch, but there is no big difference between whether there is a branch or not. Really looking for news that only appears in the New World. The intelligence network of 4 emperors is obviously much more sensitive than that of Marine. At this time, Lin An's fists gather endless shock fruit energy. After breaking away from the ship of the 17th Division, he was finally able to use his abilities without any worries. As for the safety of Zephyr, that is Marine Admiral, and it is the Marine Admiral of the previous legendary era. Worrying about him might as well worry about whether the boat will be damaged. Quote. Lin An condenses the energy of shock fruit. The energy of shock fruit began to rush towards his fist through the surroundings of his body. The huge shaking ability instantly affected the range of hundreds of meters around. What a powerful force. Zephyr looked in Lin An's direction solemnly. Lin An at this time gave him the illusion of facing Whitebeard. Such a great coercion. Zephyr naturally didn't dare to be careless. The whole person mobilized all the strength in an instant. Armament hockey was also fully mobilized by him at this moment. Fist of Truth. While speaking, Zephyr had already punched out. Lin An also started to release the energy of shock fruit. Break. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an observation hockey experience. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a piece of agility. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up 1 point. Close black lens bracket. Several attributes entered the body again. Lin An and Zephyr broke up as soon as they touched each other. The two sides looked at each other seriously. With their eyes crossed, they all sensed the strength of the opponent. After a little tidying up, Lin An continued, you should also understand why you couldn't catch Wable with the help of Marine's intelligence network. After all, New World is the territory of the 4 emperors, and they will not allow Marine to build an intelligence network here. Maybe high-level agents like CP and Marine spies can get in, but it's obviously unrealistic to build an intelligence network. Hearing Lin An's words, Zephyr snorted coldly, HMPH. What Lin An said is completely true. And it's unrealistically so. So what? Looking at Lin An in front of him, Zephyr's expression gradually calmed down. There was a look of indifference on his face. It's not that his anger and killing intent towards the pirates disappeared. But when facing an opponent of Lin An's level, if he is swayed by emotions, then there must be no good fruit to eat. In order to win, he must calm down now. It's not an unspoken secret from the rest of the world. While talking, On top of Zephyr's fist, the black and purple armament haki gathered again. The whole body disappeared instantly at this moment. Shave. Lin An quickly figured out what this trick was, and his pupils shrank. The sense of crisis came from behind. The ability of sparkling fruit is activated. After elementalization, Lin An directly avoided Zephyr's attack. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament haki perception experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You have picked up a copy of your learning experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a copy, close black lens bracket. Originally, Lin An did not intend to pay attention to these attributes. However, Shave's learning perception directly attracted Lin An. This kind of superb skill is indeed a happy thing. After a short pause, Lin An's hand was wrapped with a golden ball. When Zephyr missed a move and was about to retreat, Lin An printed it directly on his chest. Bang. Boom. There was an explosion. Zephyr was directly blasted out. The laser of sparkling fruit can have a penetrating effect. This move directly wounded Zephyr. How can it be? Zephyr looked in Lin An's direction with a look of surprise. With that move just now, if Lin An used a little more strength, he would have already lost. Looking at Lin An, Zephyr's expression showed a little complicated. Sure enough, the waves behind the Yangtze River pushed the waves ahead, and the waves before died on the beach. This is Lin An. Is it too strong? Although I lost a lot of strength because my right arm was chopped off. But Admiral's strength is still there. However, even so, he was still played by Lin An. That's right. Just kidding. After all, to be able to win outright but not to do so but to drag, what is this but a game? Lin An, don't you think it's a little too much? Looking at Lin An, Zephyr spread his arms out. A look of death. The feeling towards Lin An also dropped to the lowest point at this time. Or, are you this kind of person with bad taste? Listening to Zephyr's words, Lin An showed doubts. But, he didn't intend to understand Zephyr's thoughts. After all, Zephyr is the antagonist. Entering the opponent's logic is the most stupid sanction against oneself. No, no, no. Shaking his head and waving his hands in denial. Lin An looked at Zephyr. You should be clear that if you want revenge for killing Weibo, the intelligence network of the four emperors is the intelligence network you need most. God Li Jiao just proposed the most reasonable solution for you. After speaking, Lin An glanced up and down at Zephyr. And, even though you still call yourself your own Marine, you are still the so-called Neo's new Marine. But in the eyes of others, even your students, you are just a Marine traitor after all. The villain that Marine hunts down is similar to the Revolutionary Army and pirates, right? No, the same. Zephyr suppressed the anger and the desire to go berserk in his heart. It was supposed to be weaker than Lin An. He has to stay awake all the time. I am working hard for world peace and for people everywhere. The Revolutionary Army only wants to overthrow the world government, and they have never thought about what to do when the world order is in chaos after the overthrow of the world government. Chapter 129 Zephyr lost, Lin An lobbying. Chapter 129 Zephyr lost, Lin An lobbying. As for the pirates, they are all damned existences. They burn, kill, loot and do all kinds of evil. But I am different. I am for world peace. I am for the complete disappearance of pirates in this sea. Lin An is not clear about the Revolutionary Army. But the dragon guy is obviously not as simple as Zephyr thought. As for pirates, it is undeniable that most people are damned. But Zephyr, do you know that by doing so, you are also disrupting the world order? Your seemingly righteous things will actually hold back part of Marine's power and weaken Marine's power from the side. Seeing Zephyr's extremely restrained appearance, Lin An smiled slightly. And then, after all, isn't it to kill Weibo? Lin An responded positively to Zephyr's words. Eyes stare straight at Zephyr. Not the same, no. Zephyr couldn't hold back anymore. The gathered force hit Lin An again. Boom. This time, Lin An also didn't use shock fruit or sparkling fruit. In this way, he competed with Zephyr in gymnastics. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament haki perception experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a copy, close black lens bracket. The absorption of attributes was directly ignored by Lin An. Be sober. Such contradictions will only make you fall into an endless spiral, and finally let you fall into hell. You should clearly know that your so-called justice is nothing more than violence against violence. 11. Shut up, shut up. Zephyr ignored Lin An's words. He punched Lin An one after another. Lin An is naturally worthy of Zephyr. Hit back directly. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an observation haki experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a piece of agility, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a copy, close black lens bracket. With every punch, Lin An can gain more attributes. Looking at Zephyr in front of him, Lin An still did not give up persuading Zephyr. Zephyr has extremely high talents both in terms of his own strength and in training the strong. Bringing him into the gang will be a great boost to the Whitebeard Pirates. Marine doesn't want to avenge you, Or I can't do anything, but I have this ability, isn't it just a Wable? He has always been doing evil under the name of his father, and I have seen him unhappy for a long time. Our goal is the same. Zephyr is not at all interested in Lin An's persuasion. Same fart. I'm different from you. First I'm Marine, and you are a pirate. Listening to Zephyr's words, Lin Anbing was not angry. If Zephyr was so easily persuaded. On the contrary, it will make Lin An vigilant. The most important thing now is to break through Zephyr's heart and break the last hold in his heart. Only in this way can Zephyr give up his hatred for pirates. Only by letting Zephyr give up his hatred of pirates can Zephyr join the Whitebeard Pirates. Bang. Another fist bump. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament hockey perception experience. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a copy. Close black lens bracket. The attributes dropped by Zephyr entered Lin An's body, but he ignored it directly. No, you are the same as us. Lin An looked at Zephyr. There was a look of cruelty in his eyes. Otherwise, why would you want to destroy the order of the world? I disrupt world order. Huh. Hearing Lin An's words, Zephyr sneered. He looked at Lin An like a fool. Even if first separated from Marine, I've been attacking pirates all the time. Where did I destroy the world order? On the contrary, the world order is more peaceful because of me. No. Lin An directly denied Zephyr's words. Looking at Zephyr seriously, your existence is a ticking time bomb. If I'm not mistaken, there's always a Marine admiral chasing you behind you. Hearing Lin An's words, Zephyr was stunned for a moment. This moment of stupefaction can be regarded as giving Lin An a definite answer. So, how many admirals does Marine have? Isn't this question nonsense? There are only 3 establishments in Marine Admiral. Presumably, your cleverness has also thought of it. Lin An smiled slightly. There are only 3 admirals in Marine, because you have to send an admiral to deal with you every time you defect. Without you, they can accomplish more things, more meaningful things, but because you are there, saying that 1/3 of Marine's highest combat power is restrained by you, this is not a good thing for the world order. Destruction. Boom. Lin An's words pierced through Zephyr like a bolt from the blue. It's not that he doesn't know about it. It's not that I don't understand this truth. Even the students Ain and Bins who are willing to follow him have more or less shown it. However, he has been ignoring this information. And it was deliberately ignored. Because once he understands the news, he will definitely be directly discouraged. Now Lin An makes him have to face this matter. How could he bear it for a while? He is still righteous and has contributed to world peace, but has always supported his beliefs and spiritual pillars. At this moment, this pillar collapsed under Lin An's words. So, you should also understand. See Zephyr like this. Lin An shrugged. It seems that there is no need to continue fighting. Zephyr's faith had crumbled. The thing to do now is to continue lobbying until Zephyr is persuaded to join the Whitebeard Pirates. What are you saying? Zephyr suddenly exploded again. He punched Lin An with a punch. This looks fierce. In fact, there is not much strength on the fist. Quote. Lin An looked at Zephyr. The whole body turned into a golden brilliance. It is the ability of sparkling fruit. At this moment, the speed is so fast that it is ultimate, and even shaved in Marine 6 styles can't catch up. Break. Lin An got short. He sidestepped Zephyr's angry punch and landed him directly in the stomach. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power. Close black lens bracket. Only 1 force. After absorbing the attributes dropped by Zephyr's last punch, Lin An froze for a moment. Then a smile appeared on his face. It seems that Fa Shi has already approved Lin An's statement. It's not so much that he wants to fight Lin An desperately. In fact, he wanted to die. He wants to use Lin An's hand to understand himself whose belief has collapsed. Bang. Zephyr's body fell from the sky like a meteor and hit the deck directly. The deck made of special wood was directly crushed by Zephyr's body. Chapter 130 Zephyr who gradually fell into Lin An's trap. Chapter 130 Zephyr who gradually fell into Lin An's trap. It directly penetrated the deck and entered the cabin below. Lin An flew down slowly. Find someone to fix the deck and kitchen. Slowly, he gave an order to the crew. Lin An came to the cabin. At this moment, Zephyr collapsed on the ground and remained motionless. Lin An can be sure that the trick he just did not use too much strength. It's the same even if you use Shock Fruit's ability again. That kind of strength let alone hit Zephyr to stand, can't get up. Even getting him injured is a bit difficult. This Zephyr is completely playing dead. Come on Zephyr, join the Whitebeard Pirates. Come to Zephyr. Lin An looked down at Zephyr. Eyes full of anticipation. I reject. Zephyr directly refused. His expression has softened a bit. Your words make sense. I'm taught. Speaking of which. Zephyr stood up slowly. At this time, he was obviously different from before. If the previous Zephyr was a taut spring, then the current Zephyr is just an ordinary eraser. It doesn't make people feel too tight or extreme. I will review myself carefully, and I will also tell Marine about my situation, and try not to cause trouble to Marine. But if you want me to join the Whitebeard Pirates, you don't have to think about it. Making a Marine, or an original Marine Admiral, be a pirate, are you sure you're not dreaming? Listen to Zephyr. Lin An shrugged. Today's Zephyr is clearly not extreme anymore. Although there is still resistance to joining the pirates, it is just a resistance, and it is not completely impossible. That sentence is wrong. Looking at Zephyr in front of him. The corner of Lin An's mouth curled up. Think about your good comrade, Garp. 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 How did he? Zephyr was about to say something about how many famous pirates Garp has killed and captured in battle. Suddenly stopped. Although the news of the summit war is concealed, the basic things are known to the public. After all, you, Haiju, made so many video phone bugs broadcast live all over the world. If you conceal too much, you will even ruin your reputation even more than failing the summit war. And the most important piece of news is that Ace is Garp's adopted grandson, and Ace himself is the son of One Piece Gall D. Roger. How about it? Thinking about it this way, isn't it so contradictory? Although Garp said he didn't become a pirate, but he adopted the son of One Piece and raised him. This also happened while Marine searched the world for Ace. What Garp did was even worse and worse than when he was a pirate directly. If it weren't for the credit he made in Marine at the beginning, it would be too much. Then Garp would have been arrested straight away. No, Zephyr refused again. His face was cold and arrogant. Your strength will overwhelm me. And it's far stronger than me. I admit defeat at your hands. If you want to kill or cut whatever you want, I will not resist. Even if I die here or jump into the sea from here, I will not join the Whitebeard Pirates. Talking. Zephyr just sat down on the ground. Take your life away if you want it. Anyway, it is impossible for me to look like a pirate. If Zephyr has any rebellious emotions, what else can Lin An do? But this hob meat pattern. Lin An really has no good solution. But, Lin An is not without a killer feature. As early as when he first met Zephyr, he had already started planning the idea of taking Zephyr under his command. This is why Lin An asked about Zephyr in the first place. Just want to find a breakthrough from Zephyr. Nowadays. Zephyr's layers of camouflage were removed by Lin An's words. The rest is stubbornness due to the mixture of Marine's pride and dislike for pirates. But, Lin An also has a trump card. That's Wable. Looking at Zephyr, Lin An asked, you should know what kind of pirate group I'm in, right? Zephyr looked at Lin An like a fool. Whitebeard Pirates. The strongest pirate group in the New World. Are you kidding me? Don't bother me. Either you kill me, or you just find an island and throw me there. Don't you understand such a simple thing? Lin An directly ignored Zephyr's words. When persuading others, don't be disturbed by other people's words. Asking for flowers. Point 0. That's right, the Whitebeard Pirates are still the strongest pirates in New World. Lin An nodded. Then he looked at Zephyr expectantly. So, what can you find out from these two messages? What did you find? What do you mean? Zephyr frowned seeing Lin An's appearance. This time, he can be sure that Lin An is not talking nonsense. Not kidding him either. Then, prudence is the best option. If you don't want to say it, then I will analyze it for you. Lin An also squatted down. This height is just right enough to look directly at the sitting Zephyr. The strongest pirate group in New World also means that our Whitebeard pirate group has the most complete and powerful intelligence network in New World, isn't that right? Looking at Lin An, Zephyr didn't guess what medicine was sold in Lin An's gourd at all. Frowning and nodding. Just admit it. Lin An smiled slightly, looked at Zephyr and continued. The Whitebeard Pirates are also Whitebeard's fleet, and the person you are looking for calls himself Whitebeard too. You say, maybe our Whitebeard Pirates won't keep an eye on him. Hearing Lin An's words, Zephyr was shaken. Originally, Gujing Wubo's eyes moved instantly. So, what do you mean? Seeing Zephyr suppressing his thoughts forcibly, Lin An only found it funny. The three admiral or admiral qualified people in the previous generation of Marine are really interesting. Sengoku, Garp and the front of him are all impressive and interesting people. Of course it's the one person we've always had on your mind, which is Wable. Boom. An explosion of emotion spread through Zephyr's heart. At the same time, he is also quite pathetic. The information that I have been thinking about is completely readily available to others. After sorting out his mood a bit, Zephyr looked at Lin An again. So, what is your purpose? Of course I invite you to join the Whitebeard Pirates. Lin An raised his eyebrows, and then continued to speak. In return, I can help you get rid of Wable. Chapter 131 It's been so long. Advertise here. Chapter 131 It's been so long. Zephyr looked at Lin An suspiciously. Of course, he didn't believe Lin An's words. As a Marine, and a Marine who is famous for hating pirates. Even if he has already quit Marine, he is still someone that no pirate in the sea wants to see. After all, Zephyr's strength has declined due to the loss of an arm, but he is still a strong player at the admiral level. This strength is not something that just one person can handle. Are you kidding me? Doubt. That's right. If Zephyr agreed immediately, Lin An would have to think about whether Zephyr was fooling himself into giving him white hits. The most obvious characteristic of this older generation is stubbornness. Especially for a good old man like Zephyr, this stubbornness is even more obvious. 457. Of course not. Lin An looked at Zephyr confidently. As long as you agree to my conditions and join the Whitebeard Pirates, then I will help you avenge you, how about it? This. Zephyr frowned and looked at Lin An. He didn't believe Lin An's words 100%. This distrust not only comes from the fact that Lin An is a pirate, he is still a marine in his heart. It's not that he didn't believe that Lin An didn't have the ability to kill Wable. It's purely because I don't understand what Lin An is thinking. Nothing is free. If you want something, you have to pay for it. Zephyr couldn't figure out what Lin An wanted from him. His most powerful ability, which is also recognized by the world, is to teach others. This is attractive to other forces. After all, he is a strong man who can cultivate 3 admirals, as well as those elite vice admirals and rear admirals. Today, nearly half of the entire senior management of Marine are his students. But in the case of the Whitebeard Pirates, this ability can't be said to be tasteless, and it's not too bad. After all, Lin An's name is Pirate Instructor, and he is also famous for cultivating talents. As for strength, Lin An won't know that he can't help Lin An fight Marine. Then his usable range becomes even narrower. After all, today's new world dares to conflict with the Whitebeard Pirates, a force that has 4 emperors, level powerhouses. The Whitebeard Pirates have one and only one enemy, and that is Marine. Zephyr who got this result is even more inexplicable. First, the ability to teach people. The Whitebeard Pirates may not be able to trust him, after all, Lin An is there. Secondly, he will not help the Whitebeard Pirates do Marine, and his strength is of no use. The 2 biggest advantages are not too bright on the Whitebeard Pirates. What use does Lin An want him? Put it lightly. Look at Lin An. Zephyr only thought he was kidding himself. It is also gradually dissipating the thoughts in my heart. So let me ask, where is Weeble now? Where is Wable? Is this testing me, or do you think I'm really teasing you? Contact Moby Dick immediately and ask me where Wable is. Hearing what Zephyr said, Lin An immediately arranged for his men to go to Whitebeard for information. Not long. The information has already been sent by his subordinates. Wable was following Sengoku et al. At Punk Hazard at this time. Because of your disruption, Captain, the battle between Akainu and Aokiji was disrupted. Marine stayed on Punk Hazard for a while and planned to repair it on the spot. It is not clear what to do next, and when to evacuate from New World. Quote. Speaking of which, the intelligence officer mimics Whitebeard. Gu la la la. In the hands of Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, and Aokiji. Go and tell Lin An to take the stinking boy and say that he did a good job in this matter, so that old boy Sengoku should be swallowed up, so that he dares to plot against me. Whitebeard learned the matter simply, and understood through his mouth that Whitebeard already knew what happened to him here. After finishing the study, the intelligence officer immediately returned to his respectful look. That's the way it is. Understood. You go down. Let the intelligence officer go. Lin An set his sights on Zephyr again. Wable's location is now known. Listening to Lin An's words, Zephyr disagreed. What's the use of knowing? Easy and freehand on the surface. But Zephyr was very surprised in his heart. Lin An is very strong and he understands. He also knows that Lin An is the one who can defeat Kaido. But Lin An is able to handle with ease under the siege of Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. This is something he can't imagine at all. Now he's with Sengoku. There's Garp, Sleepy Dog, and Aokiji. Sengoku and Garp are Zephyr's old colleagues and comrades in arms. He can be said to be very clear about who they are. Akainu and Aokiji are his students. It's almost enough to know what kind of shit the other side is pulling, not to mention reaching the other side's buttocks. And the strength of the 4 is absolutely extraordinary. After listening to Whitebeard's words, Zephyr also understood part of Lin An's abilities. Lin An succeeded last time because Sengoku and Garp didn't know the strength of Lin An's shock fruit awakening and sparkling fruits fusion skills, and Akainu and Aokiji lost too much energy due to internal fighting. If faced with a state full of 4 people, if there are precautions, it will be extremely difficult for Lin An to escape from the hands of the 4 of them, let alone kill people from their hands. It's none of your business. Lin An looked at Zephyr's disbelieving expression and smiled slightly. He just waited for Zephyr not to believe it. People like Zephyr are easy to understand. As long as they can nod and agree, then as long as you don't force them to do things you don't want to do, then you will be absolutely loyal. This is why Lin An wants to take Zephyr on board so much. The first reason is to let him train the crew of the Whitebeard Pirates. After all, the stronger the crew, the better attributes he can gain. The second is that you can rest assured, don't be afraid that he will become a ghost. 5.3. Just say whether you agree to this matter or not. Seeing Lin An's swearing appearance, Zephyr felt that Lin An was crazy. Is he still going to Sengoku's place? With feelings of disbelief, Zephyr stood up directly. Don't believe it. If you can kill Wable directly and bring back evidence, I will agree to your request and join the Whitebeard Pirates. Just promise. Then it's settled. Seeing Zephyr's appearance, Lin An smiled slightly, and walked out of the cabin to the deck slowly. Little ones, go back to the place just now and wait for me, I have to go out for a while. Chapter 132, Weibel's location. Advertise here. Chapter 132 Where is Weibel? Summit War brought about quite a few chain reactions. First among them is Shichibukai. Crocodile was defeated, Moria was defeated, Jinbei's refusal to obey orders, coupled with Summit War Shichibukai's lack of effort, already made Marine and Shichibukai very dissatisfied. However, now is still the weakest time for Marine, so he can only endure it for the time being. Still, Marine responded. Jinbei, Moria was directly deprived of the title of Shichibukai and ordered to hunt down. Jinbei came out with Lin An, and Moria, who stayed on Marine's side, was almost killed. After the shortage of candidates, Marine also began to select a new Shichibukai again. Edward Weibel, who calls himself Whitebeard's son, Whitebeard too, was one of the candidates. As Shichibukai, Weibel's strength is enough. It's just that he was the one who attacked the ship of Marine's general trainees, and there were also very big differences within Marine, but because the interior of Marine was too empty, and because Weibel seemed to have some problems in his mind, he could really go all out. To fight against the pirates, Marine's top management defied the crowd and pulled him into the ranks of Shichibukai. The 24 guys are so strong. On the Marine warship, Weibel sat on the deck and looked at the sky. He still recalled the scene of Lin An fighting against Sengoku, Garp, Yin and Aokiji a few days ago in his mind. Every move and style is kept in mind. As a fighting madman, what he likes most is fighting people. He never lacked the courage to fight with others, but in front of Lin An, for the first time in his life, he understood what it means to be afraid. Originally, he just heard about the battle between Akainu and Aokiji and Marine Admiral, so he wanted to come and join in the fun, to see how the battle between Admiral is going. But he didn't expect to meet Lin An. If you want to say, the battle between Akainu and Aokiji is already very good. Weibel recalls the fight between Akainu and Aokiji. That is the incredible power of applying Logia Devil Fruit to ultimate, observation hockey, and armament hockey. He also learned a lot from Akainu and Aokiji. But just saying that is not enough. Or if there is no Lin An's appearance, it is enough to open his eyes. That guy, if he appears in front of me, I. Speaking of which, Weibel had an excited look on his face. I want to try. How much is the gap between him? Quote. Nonsense. Just then, a blonde, stocky woman berated Weibel loudly. This is Miss Ba Jin, a woman who claims to be Whitebeard's lover and mother of Weibel. Didn't you see how strong he is? Although Weibel has unparalleled strength, but as a mother boy, he can be said to be obedient to Miss Ba Jin. I heard what Miss Ba Jin said. Immediately shrank his neck. Seeing Weibel's appearance, Miss Bajin nodded in satisfaction. Be obedient, you can't face Lin An, you understand. Okay, I see. Weibel nodded with a look of frustration. Marine main ship. In a dedicated conference room. There were more than a dozen people in the conference room at this time. Sengoku, Garp, Crane, Akainu, Aokiji, Huo Shaoshan, YG and other elite vice admiral are among them. Sengoku looked at Akainu and Aokiji with doubts in his eyes. What are you two planning now? What I wanted to ask was naturally whether the battle between Akainu and Aokiji should continue. After all, they Marine came to New World, and they also chose a place like Punk Hazard, which is a no-shit place, so that Akainu and Aokiji can completely let go of themselves. Then decide the winner. After Lin An made such a fuss, the two naturally lost the possibility of continuing to fight. It took a few days of adjustment to recover. Wait a minute, that bastard Lin An hasn't gone far. If he just came to disgust us, if he realizes that we have to continue, he will definitely come back to interfere with us. Aokiji thought for a while, and then spoke his mind. Moreover, it can be seen from the last battle. This guy's two devil fruit combination skills and fusion skills are not so easy to deal with, even if it is not as good as the four of us teaming up. With the speed of sparkling fruit, if Lin An wants to escape, we have nothing to do with him. Listening to Aokiji's words, Sengoku nodded. He thought so too. But just as Akainu can refute himself. Although he is still claiming the identity of Martial Marine. But after all, it is already a must-go person. Although the right is in hand, you don't have to listen to what others don't want to hear. Anyway, as long as it is dragged until Sengoku steps down, the order will naturally be invalidated directly. Therefore, what Sengoku wants to do today not only needs to think for himself but also needs to look at the opinions of the executor. Eyes on Akainu. Sengoku asked again. Sakazuki, what do you mean? Akainu glanced at Sengoku. He doesn't really have a big problem with Sengoku. Moreover, since Sengoku has been in the position of Marshal of Marine for a long time, the influence of Sengoku's lineage in Marine is not too bad, and he doesn't want to offend too much. It's just because he really wanted the position of Marshal so much, so he spoke against Sengoku. Now about 050 and now, what Aokiji said is right again. How could he still disobey Sengoku? Also nodded. Kuzan makes a lot of sense. If we continue now, it is very likely that Lin An will come back, so why not change it to a month later? At that time, the vigilance should be raised in advance, and the preparations should be fully prepared. In a month. Sengoku thought for a moment and nodded. Kuzan, what do you think? I'm fine. Aokiji nodded, not having much desire for power himself. Aokiji just didn't want to live up to Sengoku's expectations of him. Also, I don't want Akainu, an extreme person, to become the Marine Marshal. Once the supreme power of Marine is handed over to an extremist like Akainu, maybe he will do something crazy. Even if there is world government above Marine. But the crux of the matter is, world government will only intervene in the case of major events. As for Akainu, he has the ability and mentality to make his changes to Marine not alarm the world government. These questions flashed through Aokiji's mind. A month later, 2. Chapter 133 Marine's Next Plan. Advertise here. Chapter 133 Marine's Next Plan. Okay, let's go then. Both Akainu and Aokiji agree, so there is no need to think too much about this matter. Organized my thoughts a little bit. Sengoku's eyes circle below. The next thing is very important. It's about the future of the entire Marine. Listen to Sengoku's words, others you look at me, I look at you. Except for Garp who is still indifferent, most of them are dignified. Of course they guessed what Sengoku was going to say. It's about Lin An. Really. Others have a clear face. It's not that they are clever. It is true that Lin An has been too eye-catching these days. Tired Jack, that, iron bump, Murloc, to the point of collapse. The impel down chaos was led by him alone. He also did some at war to turn the tide of battle. Kaido was laid down by him. Just a few days ago, Akainu and Aokiji disrupted the martial battle, and even Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji were able to escape under the siege of the early four. This strength. In addition, he will definitely inherit the Whitebeard Pirates, the most powerful force in New World, in the future. This guy was enough for Marine to take him thoroughly seriously. This serious treatment sounds like nothing, and some even feel that Marine is belittling Lin An. But if it is said that it is necessary to gather the strength of the entire Marine to deal with Lin An, if it is taken so seriously, no one will think that Marine is belittling Lin An, and some people will even think it is worthwhile. Anyway, Lin An can't get out of New World, so instead of taking Lin An seriously, it's better to spend more time with the Revolutionary Army. The current Lin An's strength has surpassed the Four Emperors level, and he has completely touched the ceiling of the world's combat power. Why? This is already the stage that Obi Marine has to pay attention to. Originally, I planned to leave this matter to the next Marine, but now that the duel between Akainu and Aokiji has to be postponed for a month, plus the handover time and some miscellaneous things, it will take at least 3 to 3 days. 5 months. Quote. So, I will first research the solution to this matter. Do you have any opinions? The elite vice admirals naturally had no objection and nodded directly. Even if someone is not in the same faction as Sengoku, it is impossible to disobey Sengoku in this kind of thing. After all, Lin An's strength is really too strong. If he stumbles Sengoku in this kind of matter, he definitely doesn't want to live. Once the world blames it, there will be absolutely no good things to eat. Aokiji also has Sengoku's lineage, and the elite vice admirals who are more familiar with Sengoku's lineage or are friendly also nodded. Akainu thought for a while and nodded in agreement. Okay, since everyone agrees, let's discuss this matter first. First summarize a general standard and solution, and then return to the headquarters for detailed consideration. Talking. Sengoku stood up. Otherwise he had nothing to worry about. After all, Lin An seemed invincible, and he didn't even know how to deal with it. But in fact, there are only 2 points of protection. One is their own strength, the personal strength that has already touched the ceiling of the world is afraid that even the intact Whitebeard has surpassed. The second point is the Whitebeard Pirate Group, the strongest pirate group in New World and the largest sphere of influence after robbing part of Kaido's influence. The second point is actually easy to solve. As long as Marine enters New World at any cost. Even if the 4 emperors join forces, it is absolutely impossible to surpass Marine in terms of numbers and quality of warships. The most important thing is the first point. In terms of world government, there are the world's top powerhouses. But they can't invite them at all, or those people are chasing dragons, or people who are almost as dangerous as dragons will threaten the foundation of the world government, so it is impossible to send people over to deal with them. Ordinary pirates. Even if the strength of this pirate has reached the top in the world, he will not do it at all. My suggestion is not to attack New World or to avoid the Whitebeard Pirates that Lin An belongs to. Talking. Sengoku had a look of seriousness on his face. I mean it. No matter how powerful Lin An is, he is just an ordinary person in the end, and he will live for decades at most. When he leaves, Whitebeard may find Lin An, but Lin An can find someone who is comparable to Whitebeard and Lin An. Will his own people continue to shelter the Whitebeard Pirates? Sengoku's face was full of seriousness. Obviously, his proposal was well thought out. The New World journey can be opened, but it's best to just push forward slowly, and then promote Marine's justice in the days after entering New World. Don't take the initiative to provoke the pirates of the 4 emperors. Boom. After hearing the results, Akainu slapped the table and stood up. He looked at Sengoku with disbelief and reassurance. He really couldn't figure out why the wise and mighty Marine Marshal showed such a cowardly look at this time. Look at Sengoku. Although Akainu is very serious in suppressing the anger in his heart. But he was forcibly suppressed by him. So, do you mean to let the pirates be arrogant for an era? For Sengoku, what I want is to find out everything that is beneficial to me and Marine as much as possible, so that Marine can avoid crises as much as possible. This is why he was able to serve as Marine Marshal for such a long time. This is all due to Sengoku's strategy of slowly advancing, which not only saves money, but also can change the image of the world government in the folks in a friendly way. It is precisely for this reason that Marine quickly it spread to every corner of this world except New World, and bound Marine and Order together. This is why Sengoku was included in the world government, and even launched a summit war of this level of war and casualties. 5 elders is still only superficial punishment. Good money directly deprived Sengoku of the position of marshal and said to others an explanation. In fact, he was leveled. Although it is said that the rights are not as good as before, or even that there is no real power at all, it is just that the status is high. But just like this, it can also make Sengoku be convinced in various forms. I disagree. Get up. Akainu looked at Sengoku. There's nothing wrong with doing that in theory. But don't forget the idle effect. If the Whitebeard Pirates cannot be killed as soon as possible, those who choose to go to New World will join the Whitebeard Pirates one after another. If we continue like this, can we really wait until the pirates in New World become weaker? Chapter 134. The Arrival of Lin An. Advertise here. Chapter 134. The Arrival of Lin An. Akainu's eyes were fixed on Sengoku. There will never be a shortage of talented people in this world. And once the pirates have a goal, and people with strong talents gather together, you don't know what will happen as a result, right? Look into Akainu's eyes. Sengoku didn't know how to respond for a moment. How could he not know what Akainu was thinking? Only. The world government will definitely not help them. As for Marine, they couldn't deal with Lin An anymore. If they had to fight Lin An to death, then there was only a possibility of losing both sides. After all, they also couldn't catch Lin An's weakness. As for capturing an important member of the Whitebeard Pirates, let alone. In today's Whitebeard Pirates, because of what happened to Ace before, every high-level person will follow the other person to take care of each other when they go out. It is simply impossible to have such an opportunity again. Looking at Sengoku in front of him, Akainu said slowly, my suggestion is to enter New World immediately after the world conscription is over, and completely separate New World from the Grand Line, the Southeast, the North, and the Four Seas, absolutely not allowing anyone enters. Lin An. When Sengoku and others were discussing, Lin An had already found Wable by virtue of observation haki. Although Wable said that he boarded the ship 217 because of Shichibukai's request, and was allowed by Sengoku to watch the admiral battle between Akainu and Aokiji. But he is still a pirate after all. He was only arranged above the fringe warships in the front row. At this time, a figure fell directly from the sky. If not Lin An, who else? Lin An came back quietly, and did not attract the attention of Marine's vigilant sailors. But Lin An didn't deliberately hide his figure. After all, he wanted to kill people. Wable is also a powerhouse of the Emperor's deputy level. He can't solve the battle quickly. It is obviously inevitable for others to notice. To say it was done quietly and then discovered by others, might as well be said to be upright and open. Quote. There are not many Marines on the deck. After all, they are the last. And there is Wable, the Shichibukai, so there is no need to defend at all. The Marine who found Lin An hadn't made a sound yet, so he had no chance to say another word. Are you sure you're Dad's son? Looking at Wable in front of him and Miss Ba Jin beside him, Lin An showed doubts. It's not that he hasn't seen Wable before, but he also knows how many twists and turns there are in offering a reward. Isn't Sanji's bounty order just making me very ashamed? The Miss Ba Jin in front of her was just a short man, which didn't surprise Lin An too much. After all, the Lois is buried to the eyebrows. It's normal not to be young anymore. However, Wable, who claims to be Whitebeard's own son, obviously went too far. Is there a little bit of Whitebeard's haki in the foolish look? Don't say anything similar. That is, the beard that is almost not exactly the same as Whitebeard and the same style of Qinglongyanyu knife. However, both of these things can be imitated. Anybody on the side of the road would look more like Whitebeard's own son than this guy. Daddy. Wable looked at Lin An suspiciously. If you're talking about Whitebeard again, it's my dad. Saying that, Wable wiped his nose with his arm. Depend on. Totally impossible. Lin An looked at Wable's stupid appearance and kept cursing in his heart. This guy is definitely hot, and it's all about Whitebeard's hotness to rub the heat. Impossible, you two are absolutely liars. Slightly frowned. If you scold your mother, you can scold your mother. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. But he didn't really underestimate Wable. The power emanating from this guy, as well as the armament haki he inadvertently released, are definitely not superpowers that ordinary people can possess. Fraud. Miss Ba Jin, who was hiding aside, jumped out directly. What do you know? My mother used to be a member of the Whitebeard Pirates. Back then, my mother was as beautiful as a flower, and Whitebeard took a fancy to my beauty, and the two of us had Wable. Miss Ba Jin. This woman was indeed on the Whitebeard ship before, and she can be regarded as one of the first generations of the Whitebeard pirate ship. There's nothing else to believe in other than that, though. When she said that she was as beautiful as a flower when she was young, Lin An believed it. After all, she can become a member of the Whitebeard Pirates, and she is still a woman. So far, there is really no ugly one. She said that Whitebeard took a fancy to her beauty and they had a relationship, which Lin An also admitted. Just looking at the few nurses who always serve Whitebeard shows that Whitebeard is not very conservative in this regard. But say Wable is Whitebeard's son. He absolutely does not believe this. No matter how you look at it, Miss Ba Jin is a shrewd person. Whitebeard is a generation of heroes. Is it possible that these two people gave birth to a person with a stupid head? Obviously unrealistic. This guy doesn't know where Miss Ba Jin got a silly boy with extraordinary talents and brought him up. In the beginning, it might just be to have someone to serve you when you are old. Unexpectedly, a powerhouse of the Emperor's deputy level was cultivated. So she arranged for Wable to join her in burning, killing and looting in the name of Whitebeard. Recently, he has been awarded the title of Shichibukai, a fat job who can legally burn, kill, and loot. Her ambition grew. Looking at Lin and in front of her, Miss Ba Jin's eyes rolled back and forth in the eye sockets. Since you are also Newgate's son, you should listen to me even when Newgate is not around. Miss Ba Jin looked at Lin An greedily. If Wable is a tool that can keep her well-fed and well-fed. If she controls another Lin An, she will most likely directly inherit Whitebeard's huge power in New World and directly become one of the most powerful people in the entire world. By that time, don't you want the wind to be the wind, or the rain to be the rain? One thought here. Miss Ba Jin laughed. Very obscene and crazy. Are you dreaming? Lin An looked at Miss Ba Jin like a fool. After seeing Wable on the side, the anger in his heart gradually disappeared. Sighing a little. I'm afraid you've been with a powerful fool all these years, and your head is also stupid. Mother. At this time, Wable stepped forward. He looked at Lin An angrily. While asking Miss Ba Jin for instructions, he called me a fool, can I beat him up? Chapter 135 Lin An makes a move. Chapter 135 Lin An makes a move. Listening to Wable's words, Miss Ba Jin was almost scared to death. If it was normal, she would definitely agree directly. But now is not the usual time, and Lin An is not the person you meet in normal times, but a peerless powerhouse who can truly crush the four emperors. If it was just hearsay, Miss Ba Jin would not have such a sense of fear. The most important thing is that she has just seen Lin An's appearance in the hands of Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. How could she have no influence? If you dare to be arrogant, you don't even know how to write dead characters. Bastard, don't talk nonsense. Miss Ba Jin scolded Wable, and walked towards Lin An with a flattering face. Lin An's performance is obviously impossible for her to be able to bluff as Whitebeard's lover. But, she also didn't believe that Whitebeard's men would make a move on her. Lin An, it doesn't matter if you don't admit that I'm a Whitebeard lover. What I did with the Whitebeard Pirates was remarkable, at least your seniors. I'm not involved in your festivities with Marine. My son and I will leave first. Talking. Miss Ba Jin quickly ran back to Wable. Wable, let's go, let's talk at home first. Wable looked at Lin An slightly angrily. However, as a mother boy, Wable is very obedient to his mother. At this moment, no matter how angry he is towards Lin An, it can only be. Although angry, but at this time Miss Ba Jin still listened to what she said, so she nodded aggrievedly. Wable's appearance made Miss Ba Jin heave a sigh of relief. There are not many things that can make her nervous, and naturally there are even fewer people. And Lin An is obviously the one with the highest level of danger. Just now she wanted to use her status as Whitebeard's lover to trick Lin An into doing things for her. But now it seems obviously impossible. Lin An ran to the warship again, and it was obvious to her that she was here to trouble Marine. It is impossible to have any relationship with their mother and son. He was about to take Wable away immediately. I won't bother you to do business here. You can go. But Wable is staying. Lin An's eyes gradually revealed a murderous look. Paired with the coercion emanating from Conqueror's Haki, it's enough to scare anyone. This appearance really scared Miss Ba Jin. He said with a trembling tone, stop joking. We still have things to do, so don't bother. With that said, Ms. Ba Jin quickened his pace. Wable naturally followed suit. Jun. Lin An will naturally not explain to Miss Ba Jin and Wable. Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, and Aokiji are on the main ship of the marine warship not far away. Now that Sengoku and Garp already know his combo skills, even if they can't think of a way to crack it, they can still think of a way to prevent it. Akainu and Aokiji have also fully recovered at this time, not the semi-weak state they had been fighting for a while before. Once again besieged by the four of them, Lin An couldn't guarantee whether he could still run out. Destroy. A shot is a killing move. Lin An quickly approached Wable. The fist containing the power of shock fruit has come to Wable. Something's wrong. On top of Punk Hartha's marine main ship. Garp, who had been ignoring his surroundings, suddenly opened his eyes. This breath. Without devil fruit, Without Conqueror's Haki, he can reach the ranks of the world's top powerhouses only with physical strength. Garp's observation Haki is not as famous as his armament Haki, but it is definitely world-class. At this time, when he had nothing to do, this sense of knowledge was also used by him to check if there was anything interesting happening around him. What? Someone cheated, and the children belong to someone else. What happened? There are still people who are inappropriate and engage in military bullying. Just at this time, Garp suddenly sensed an extremely powerful force. Wrong. Lin An, Sengoku, Akainu and others who were arguing stopped immediately when they heard Garp's words, and looked at Garp tacitly. Garp, what's going on? Other things can be studied later. After all, no matter how you say it, it will be done later. But what Garp said is obviously not that simple. This is something we have to face now. Sengoku looked at Garp with nervousness on his face, again. Garp stood up straight away and looked back. That was the direction of the warship where Weibo was. Asking for flowers. I just noticed Lin An's breath when I was fishing. Garp unconsciously said what he was fishing for just now. Don't say that no one will, and no one dares to be angry about it. What's more, now Lin An ran into the marine again. And it was less than a week between the two times. This is already contempt for marine. Sengoku stood by Garp's side, eyes cast doubt. Are you sure? He believed in Garp, but such an unbelievable thing still needs to be confirmed. I'm pretty sure, Garp said. There was a look of surprise in his eyes. This kid actually dares to make a move. According to Garp, Lin An came to marine one after another, probably because he wanted to steal some information or something. But now he even sensed that Lin An was using shock fruit. Is this guy here to fight? Or, he didn't achieve his original purpose. Garp looked serious. At this time, the people around him are either Marine Marshal, Marine Admiral, or at least his equal, Marine Vice Admiral. He gave orders directly. Everyone present, immediately use Moonwalk to support Warship No. 34. Talking. Garp was the first to move. A punch shattered the window in front of him, and Moonwalk flew out directly. Yes, the elite Vice Admirals responded immediately. Garp's status in the Marine is even higher than the Marine Marshal. Although he doesn't do business on weekdays. Even the Summit War dared to release water. But once Garp gets serious, it will definitely be a big crisis for Marine. No one dared to slack off. Walk. Sengoku, Inu and Aokiji also followed quickly. A group of more than a dozen people marched quickly, and came directly to the vicinity of the number 34 warship, which is where Weibo was. Garp was already heading straight for the deck. Sengoku looked at Lin An on the deck with annoyance in his eyes. This guy doesn't care about Marine at all. All Vice Admiral listened to the order and immediately surrounded the number 34 warship. Chapter 136 Sengoku and others rushed to the rescue. Advertise here. Chapter 136 Sengoku and others rushed to the rescue. Vice Admiral doesn't help much in this level of fight. Although letting them go to guard is overkill, it is also the most suitable job. After all, if Lin An wants to leave, there is no one at the elite Vice Admiral level, and he is afraid that he will be instantly killed. Yes, the elite Vice Admirals immediately nodded in agreement. They scattered one after another, and stopped in a convenient place. Akainu, Aokiji, you guys come with me. Sengoku followed Garp with Akainu and Aokiji. Shake it, destroy it. At this time, Lin An has also noticed the movement behind him. One side was slightly surprised how Sengoku and the others came so quickly. While speeding up his actions, the fist containing the energy of shock fruit swung directly at Weibo. Want to kill me? Weibo looked at Lin An, the fear in his eyes disappeared. September 10th is in the face of life and death. Weibo forgot the fear. Especially the four of Garp, Sengoku, Akainu and Aokiji can already be seen. He is even less likely to lose confidence. Armament Haki is wound and used. The Qinglong Yanyu knife immediately became shiny black. With Weibo's hand swung directly. Clang. A metallic clang sounded. Lin An's fist collided with Weibo's Qinglong crescent knife. In an instant, there was a great shock. However, the difference in strength between the two is too much. Lin An's punch directly penetrated Weibo's armament Haki. In the blink of an eye, the Qinglong Yanyu knife in Weibo's hand was smashed into pieces. The unabated fist trend was directly printed on Weibo's face. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament Haki perception experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power, close black lens bracket. Bang. There was a muffled sound. Weibo was directly beaten by Lin An and flew out. It didn't stop until it hit the board. A fight. Where is the sound coming from? At this time, the Marines of the number 34 warship have also reacted. They ran to the deck one after another. Everyone was in despair the moment they saw Lin An. The frequency of Lin An appearing in their line of sight is too high. Impel down big event. Summit War. Four Emperors War. Also, it interrupted the duel between the two admirals, Akainu and Aokiji. Now it came out again. And it's on the same boat. For the Marine of the number 34 warship, let alone remembering Lin An's appearance, she can even tell one thing about Lin An's skin condition. Not good. After seeing Lin An, immediately someone raised the alarm. Quickly report to Marshal Sengoku, Lin An is attacking again. Report, Marshal Sengoku is already on his way and will arrive soon. So, shall we go to support? The Marines on the number 34 warship couldn't help swallowing. Lin An's strength is even that of a single Marine Admiral, or even Garp, Sengoku, who can win, and even be directly killed by Lin An. Not to mention their small roles. No, the captain in charge of the number 34 warship immediately stopped the order. Since Marshal Sengoku, Vice Admiral Garp, Akainu Admiral, and Kizaru Admiral are already on their way. Then what we have to do is watch Lin An and don't let him get away. Don't do things that send you to death. Soon, the order of the captain of the number 34 warship has been conveyed. The Marines of the number 34 warship rushed out from various posts. However, they were only around Lin An and Weibo, and had no intention of rushing to help. You bastard, why? Weibo's body can be described as rough-skinned and thick-skinned. After being punched by Lin An in the front, there were no obvious scars. He was even able to stand up and act defensive again. Tisk. To this, Lin An clicked her tongue. He has also noticed Garp, Sengoku, Akainu and Aokiji. So we must resolve this matter as soon as possible and kill Weibo. To this end, Lin An's eyes were on Miss Ba Jin who was on the side. Weibo is such a baby boy, if Miss Bajin can be controlled, it will be easy to solve. As soon as this idea reverberated in his mind, Lin An rejected it. People must have a bottom line. Once the bottom line is broken, people will become more and more depraved. He didn't want to be that kind of person. He felt the breath behind him a little bit. Now if we can solve Weibo with one move, then he can escape calmly, and he doesn't have to meet Sengoku and the others. To this end, Lin An directly used the strongest power now. Combination skills. This is, feel the power and tricks of Lin An. Weibo almost knelt on the ground with frightened knees. This is a trick that will only be used against the world's top powerhouses like the Four Emperors. He didn't expect Lin An to use it on him. This left Weibo in despair. Did I offend you? It seems we haven't met before. Weibo prepares to defend, while asking Lin An one after another. Is it because of my dad? If you don't like it, then I won't use my father's name in the future, okay? Weibo's words can be said to have reached the point of begging and licking. But, Lin An didn't mean to talk to him at all. It is clear. Lin An didn't intend to say anything more to him. Just want to kill him. Weibo was even more desperate when he learned of this result. Fighting is absolutely impossible to win. Then there is only foreign aid. He turned his attention to Marine who was on the side. Help me, save me. But, even the world's top powerhouses like the Four Emperors are no match for Lin An. Even if they did, what help could they give Weibo? At this time, Lin An's charged attack has been completed. Shock, accompanied by Lin An's roar. A shock wave mixed with the energy of shock fruit and sparkling fruit flew out of Lin An's fist. A fist-shaped golden fist was approaching Weibo. The power of 0.1 contained in this punch would be much more troublesome even for Kaido and Garp to pick it up. Not to mention Weibo. However, in the next second, a figure appeared like lightning in front of Weibo kneeling on the ground. Just punch out. The armament hockey, who was almost able to tear apart the world, broke Lin An's punch. This person, of course, was the first Garp who noticed Lin An's arrival. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an observation hockey experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament hockey perception experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power, close black lens bracket. After saving Weibo, Garp looked at Lin An. Lin An, you are doing well. Hey, it's still too late. Chapter 137 Sengoku questioned, arrogant Lin An. Advertise here. Chapter 137 Sengoku questioned, arrogant Lin An. Lin An's annoyed voice sounded. At this time, three figures appeared beside him again. Naturally it was Sengoku, Akainu and Aokiji. Sengoku narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Lin An. I didn't expect that you would go back and forth. Anger. Surprisingly angry, if we say that Sengoku's impression of Lin An was just a troublesome opponent. So now his impression of Lin An is his sworn enemy. Lin An's provocative behavior on marine warships has reached the ultimate level of mocking marine. Especially on the warship he was on. This is already telling him that Lin An doesn't care what you think of Sengoku. Nor did he think marine could threaten him. Marine is just a place where he can come and go whenever he wants. Looking at Lin An, Sengoku forcefully controlled his anger. Why did you come back? Why do you want to come back? Lin An recovered his mood. The current situation means he has to deal with Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. His idea of killing Weld directly and leaving quickly is no longer possible. Looking at Sengoku, Lin An said calmly, of course 24 is because what I want to do has not been completed. Listen to what Lin An said. Sengoku frowned slightly. His eyes were on Weld lying on the ground behind Garp, whose legs were already limp from fright. Turning his head to look at Lin An. Sengoku looked at Lin An with an unbelievable expression, and pointed at Welb. So, you sneaked into Marine secretly, and even sabotaged the duel of Marine's next marshal, in order to kill him. Lin An nodded noncommittal. Of course. At the very beginning, Lin An didn't have this idea, and the initial idea was just to join in the fun, and get some attributes to become stronger by the way, but he was discovered unexpectedly, and had a fight with Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. Not to mention wanting to kill Wable, he didn't even know where Wable was at first. This purpose is also for the purpose of pulling Zephyr on board after meeting Zephyr. But, it's not that he didn't think about the possibility of meeting Sengoku. The answer was already prepared. Welb impersonates me as the Whitebeard pirate captain and commits crimes. Quote. Now that Marine has taken over Shichibukai, do you think we might just let him go? This reason can be said to be extremely sufficient. And it is well founded and does not tolerate any doubts from others. Sengoku is naturally convinced by this reason. I see. Seeing Lin An, Sengoku was even more angry. Although this reason convinced him, it made his teeth itch with hatred. Killing a Wable actually has to harass the Marine fleet one after another. And it's still in the Marine fleet where he, the Marine Marshal, sits. This has reached the level of directly ignoring Marine, which is even more excessive than underestimating Marine. Even if Wable had to die. He, Wable, is also active in your new world, so can't we move after we leave? You and I can be regarded as opponents who have played against each other a few times. Can't you show me some face? Sengoku tried to calm down the anger in his heart. His body has already changed at this time. First, transform into a golden Buddha. Later, it changed from a huge Buddha statue to the size of a normal person. It is Sengoku's fruit awakening, golden Buddha avatar form. The golden body around him exudes brilliance, and the level of condensedness even exceeds the level of fighting Lin An before. However, Wable is now a member of our Marine Shichibukai. We won't allow you to do that. Speaking of which. Sengoku's eyes flashed with murderous intent. And, do you think you can run? Looking at Sengoku's face, Lin An nodded decisively, of course. If it's just running away, Lin An has no problem. The most critical thing now is to kill Wable before leaving. This will directly face the 4 strong players of Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. Even Lin An may die if he is not careful. But, there is still the momentum that should be there. Didn't you 4 hit me together before? Will I end up being caught or killed by you? To kill is to punish the heart. Just a few words from Lin An almost broke the defense of the 4 veterans Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. Garp exudes a surge of armament hockey. At this time, he was also very angry. He looked straight at Lin An. Boy, don't be too arrogant. Arrogant. This is true. But being arrogant is not enough. Lin An's eyes rolled around. What he has to do is to make a quick decision as much as possible. Kill Wable and run straight away. Since this is the case, it is impossible to make a living on defense like last time. This time, it will be about attacking. Think here. Lin An's eyes were full of fighting intent. At this time, the endless power of shock fruit and sparkling fruit began to condense on the fists. Is this going to take the initiative? See Lin An in action. Sengoku's expression froze. The whole person was dumbfounded. He thought that after being discovered, Lin An's first choice was to run away. Unexpectedly, not only did he not run away, but he even wanted to take the initiative to attack. Garp, Akainu and Aokiji also have similar expressions. Akainu is directly lava formed, and the ability of the Logia fruit is awakened. Aokiji turns into ice directly, which is also the awakening of Logia fruit ability. All 4 of them have played against Lin An. He has a full understanding of Lin An's strength. If you want to fight Lin An, even if the 4 of them attack together, you have to go all out. This is the cognition when they teamed up to deal with Lin An last time. Hee. Akainu sneered. Looking at Lin An, the whole person showed a mocking expression. It's not like you haven't tried it before. With the 4 of us playing together, you have no chance at all. Indeed, there is nothing wrong with what Akainu said. But, is 4-on-1 worth mentioning? How do you think you are quite proud? Lin An complained in his mind. The energy gathered in the hand is almost enough. Combination skills. Lin An began to read out his moves. Marine's side immediately became vigilant. Sengoku's hand began to emit a faint golden light, and Garp's armament-colored entanglement had been adjusted by him again to pull the distance away from his hand, which was obviously improved, in order to avoid being shocked by Lin An as much as possible. The combination of fruit and sparkling fruit hit. Lava balls began to condense from Akainu's hands. On Aokiji's hand, a huge ice cube gathered. Heaven shattering. Lin An shouted loudly. The whole person pushed out his right hand directly, and a huge golden fist was already hitting in Sengoku's direction. Chapter 138 Fighting Again, Lin An's Purpose. Chapter 138 Fighting Again, Lin An's Purpose. This is a long-range attack with the ability of Sparkling Fruit as the main body and the ability of Shock Fruit as the auxiliary. Looking at the fist that was about to hit, Sengoku acted calmly, as the first one going to deal with me. The corner of Sengoku's mouth pulled away. Lin An's strength and ability can be said to be extremely tricky. Especially after combining shock fruit and sparkling fruit, the combo technique has been improved to a higher level. Among the four, he was the only one who could block Lin An's combo attack without injury. There was a muffled sound. Sengoku swung his right fist. It smashed Lin An's combo with a single punch. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a devil fruit growth experience. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament hockey perception experience. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power. Close black lens bracket. Feel the attributes flowing into the body. Lin An is still very satisfied. Sengoku, Garp. This level of powerhouse drop attributes are basically the highest quality of attributes that can be dropped in this world. This level of attributes is the biggest improvement for me today, and if I can gain more, I must gain more. Go together. After cracking Lin An's trick, Sengoku went straight to Lin An. His direction was still directly in front of Lin An. Garp didn't know when he had come directly behind Lin An. Akainu and Aokiji are still waiting for the opportunity in two directions, one left and one right. Obviously, they are satisfied with their strategy when dealing with Lin An before. This time I still intend to do so. The most important thing is that this trick really works. Lin An really had nothing to do with them. Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, and Aokiji are no match for him individually. But it is not so easy for Lin An to kill the other party. Sengoku's Buddha fruit is the hardest devil fruit Lin An has ever seen. Needless to say, Garp, observation hockey and armament hockey beyond ordinary people are enough for anyone to look forward to, and Lin An is naturally among them. As for the words of Akainu and Aokiji, the strength of the two of them is indeed one level weaker than Lin An. But both of them are Logia devil fruit capable users. It is not difficult for Lin An to defeat them, but it will take some time to kill them. Now the four get together. Not to mention Lin An's chances of winning, it will take some difficulty to escape. But it's okay. He didn't intend to confront the four of Sengoku head on. There is no idea of keeping the four of them here completely. He has one and only one goal. That's Weibo. Out of the corner of his eye, Weibo glanced at him. At this moment, Weibo had already stood up from the ground. He looked at Lin An as if watching a good show. It seemed that he thought he would survive and calm down completely. But I always hold the feeling that even if I offend the entire marine, I will make Sengoku hate me to the bone. Do you think you can really survive? Lin An. Garp's voice sounded. There is something similar to a glove attached to his fist. That is entirely formed by the armament hockey external release. It can be seen that Garp's problem-solving idea for how to deal with Lin An's combo skills is to increase the distance of releasing energy as much as possible. This led to the glove attached to Garp's fist as seen today. Well done. Lin An also responded to Garp's words. Lin An was noncommittal about Garp's preparations. Whether it is the power of vibration or the power of laser, it is impossible to be weakened too much with only such a small distance. The power of the vibration is resonant, which means it can instantly flood and touch the entire object. Armament hockey's glove is still connected to Lin An's body, so it obviously won't play a big role. Not to mention the penetrating power of laser power, this may be the strongest penetrating ability in the entire world. Combination skills. Lin An began to accumulate the energy of shock fruit and sparkling fruit on his hands. Things are pretty good right now. Since Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, and Aokiji chose to use the previous solution to deal with themselves, they obviously did not intend to seek to kill themselves in a short time, but to use time to polish Lin An's physical strength and finally arrest him. This mode is extremely labor-saving for the four Sengoku, which means that their pressure will not increase in a short period of time. Just find the opportunity. Take your chances. Then he can take the opportunity to kill Weibo. Quote exclamation mark quote. Boom. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an observation hockey experience. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament hockey perception experience. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power. Close black lens bracket. Lin An absorbed the attributes dropped by Garp. There was a look of surprise in his eyes. His trick was actually defended by Garp. How is this going? Ha ha ha. Seeing Lin An's surprised expression, Garp laughed out loud. You don't think I've done nothing for so long, do you? It's obviously impossible to do nothing. But, what exactly did Garp do to prepare? Can he really rely on his mortal body to forcibly handle his combo skills? And not just once. The rescue that has just begun is Garp. Curious. Garp looked at Lin An's surprised eyes and the corner of his mouth curled up. Go for yourself. Talking. Garp quickly withdrew. At this time Akainu is ready to attack. Lava. Meteor. A huge, hundreds of meters in size fell from the sky under the control. It hit Lin An directly. Tisk. Lin An secretly clicked his tongue. There was also a little annoyance on his face. For him. Not so interested in other things. Quite curious as to how Garp was able to nerf, or even dismiss, his combos. Combination skills. Lin An began to gather the energy of shock fruit and sparkling fruit into his hands again. Sengoku, Garp, Shin and Aokiji's chosen fighting method means that they will not put too much pressure on Lin An. Nature has spare capacity. Out of the corner of the eye, it was on Weibel. Having said that, but he only has one chance to attack. If you don't win, you will be alerted by Sengoku and the others. Launch a more urgent attack. At that time, it was not certain whether Lin An would be able to escape the siege of the four Sengoku, let alone take a shot against Weibel. Break. Punch out. The lava ball in the sky was directly crushed by Lin An. Eyes on Akainu. Lin An looked at Akainu and asked slightly teasingly, if I don't take action, then this huge lava ball will directly destroy dozens of marine warships, but I have saved dozens of marine warships. Chapter 139 Take the initiative and strive for speed. Advertise here. Chapter 139 Take the initiative and strive for speed. From the perspective of record, I can be regarded as a marine hero. Shouldn't there be a reward or something? Listening to Lin An's words, Akainu did not give any response. He stepped back step by step. At this moment, a chill came from behind Lin An. Frozen. Aokiji was ready at this point. A huge ice bird appeared in the sky above. Under Aokiji's control, the huge ice bird rushed directly towards Lin An. Ice bird. Under the waving of the ice bird's wings, some pieces of ice that were visible to the naked eye, as dense as shaved ice, scattered. A huge rainbow formed in the sky under the flying of the ice bird. Sparkle. This time, Lin An didn't use combo skills. Combination skills are extremely powerful, but they are also extremely energy consuming. Lin An has absolutely no chance of winning against Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. So, you should save as much power as possible. Under the urging of Lin An. Rays of golden light erupted from Lin An's body. Break out. Under the control of Lin An. A laser beam as thick as a bucket penetrated Aokiji's ice bird in an instant. You picked up a devil fruit growth experience. 110, you picked up an observation hockey experience. Open black lens bracket, you picked up a piece of intelligence, close black lens bracket. Feel the attributes entering the body. This can be regarded as the only sympathy that can be given to Lin An now. But, if this thing is done, then Lin An can get more. The people Zephyr cultivated were at least Vice Admiral Rear Admiral level powerhouses. If all the 2,600 members of the Whitebeard Pirates exist like this, Lin An is afraid that he will be able to overthrow the world government in a short time, so it is not a problem to find the 5 elders of the world government, the dragon of the revolutionary army, and I am, the king of celestial dragons, who are related to the direction of the world. Bang! With Aokiji's huge ice bird shattering. Aokiji also stepped back directly. He also strictly follows the rules. The bergamot is unparalleled. Sengoku and others have indeed prepared tricks and methods for Lin An that can counter Lin An. Especially Garp. His glove can offset the function of Lin An's combo skills, and Lin An still hasn't figured out the reason. But, their tactics have not changed much. At this point Sengoku strikes again. Under the urging of Sengoku, countless bergamots directly attacked and hit Lin An. Sparkling, CEDJ. The capabilities of sparkling fruit continue to converge. Countless Han swords appeared around Lin An's body. 8 directions Han sword, accompanied by the gradual emergence of the Han sword. Under Lin An's control, it flew directly downward. Just in time to meet Sengoku's fist. Wang Jian returns to the clan. He was entangled with the long sword endlessly. However, in order to avoid entering the endless battle of physical exertion, the two also restrained themselves. Open black lens bracket, you picked up a devil fruit growth experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket, you picked up an observation hockey experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket, you picked up an armament hockey perception experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket, you picked up a power, close black lens bracket. Absorbing Sengoku's attributes, Lin An also showed a hint of anxiety in his heart. The physical strength is really too fast. The thing to do now is to find opportunities as much as possible and kill Weibel. That guy is thick-skinned and even shock fruit can't really hurt him too much. Then there is only one way. Beheaded directly. No creature in this world can survive as long as its head is cut off. He doesn't have op fruit after all. Think here. Lin An has decided on what he will do next. Combination. Lin An let out a roar. The Bafang Han sword in his hand did not disappear. The energy of shock fruit and sparkling fruit began to gather on the whole body. Strangeness. What is he doing here? Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji looked at Lin An with strange faces. It is impossible for Lin An's combo to give Sengoku too much damage if they have figured it out. This kind of pointless consumption of physical strength is really not something that a person like Lin An can do. Perhaps, they are just looking for a chance to escape. Akainu frowned and spoke his own analysis. Makes sense. Sengoku responded. They couldn't figure out what Lin An was thinking right now. What Akainu said is already the most reasonable inference. And Lin An also used this trick to escape before. Unlimited condensed power, and then used it to force Sengoku and the 4 of them away, thus finding a gap to escape. Since this is the case, then he must not be allowed to break through. Sengoku quickly issued orders based on this deduction. Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji flew straight into the air. Each person made an interception action in one direction. Really? Seeing the movements of the four of Sengoku, a smile appeared on the corner of Lin An's mouth. He is just playing a conspiracy, forcing Sengoku and the others to join forces. Otherwise, if they had people resting all the time, it would be impossible for Lin An to break through the encirclement of Sengoku and the four of them and kill Weibo. And how can Sengoku and the four of them shoot at the same time? Naturally Lin An wanted to run. So there is the current combination skill condensation. Electromagnetic oscillation. During the conversation. A majestic momentum soaring straight into the sky. Really? At this moment, Sengoku, Garp, Inu and Aokiji who stood in the sky became more and more firm in their determination. Lin An's move has almost reached the strongest force he can release. In addition to running away, they really couldn't think of Lin An's other ideas. Lava, Dark Hound, a hell dog appeared around Akainu. Freeze, Ice Bird, an ice bird appeared beside Aokiji. Buddha, a huge bergamot gathered around Sengoku. Iron Fist, Garp's armament hockey almost blackens the sky. The four of them immediately erupted with the strongest strength to resist Lin An's desperate blow. Boom. There was an explosion that almost pierced the sky. Open black lens bracket you picked up a devil fruit growth experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket you picked up an observation hockey experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket you picked up a devil fruit growth experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket you picked up an armament hockey perception experience, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket you picked up a power, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket you picked up a piece of agility, close black lens bracket. Opening square bracket comma closing square bracket. Countless attributes entered Lin An's body. Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji desperately compressed the power released by Lin An, the purpose of which was naturally not to let Lin An run away. But, at this time, Lin An did not go head-on with the four of them. Holding the Bafang Han sword in his hand, he stabbed Weibo directly. Not good. Seeing this, Sengoku's pupils shrank. His purpose has not been revised. Chapter 140 Kill Weibo and leave calmly. Advertise here. Chapter 140 Kill Weibo and leave calmly. Until this time, Sengoku discovered Lin An's purpose, or Lin An's purpose has not changed. He didn't mean to look down on Marine or to discuss them on purpose. Instead, Weibo had to be killed. Although it is not clear why Lin An did this, what they have to do is to stop Lin An's actions. Being able to make the enemy unhappy is the best thing besides a frontal strike. And Lin An is now Marine's biggest enemy and one of the enemies he wants to get rid of the most. Stop him. Have you seen my true thoughts? Lin An glanced at Sengoku out of the corner of his eye. He was even more impressed with Sengoku. I reacted the moment I just reacted, and this keen insight was faster than I expected. But, a stern look flashed in Lin An's eyes. The speed is even faster. Nowadays, there is a distance between Lin An and Sengoku at all. I also have the acceleration of sparkling fruit. Sengoku and the others couldn't keep up. By the time none of you have guarded Weibo, it will be too late. At this time, the Bafang Han sword in his hand was infused with the energy of shock fruit by Lin An. Combination skills swinging in all directions. During the conversation, the long sword in Lin An's hand has come to Weibo. How could you kill me so easily? At this time, Weibo is also stimulated between life and death. Fear is expelled at this moment by the shadow of death. The whole person instantly exploded to a level far exceeding his own strength. He directly picked up the handle of the Qinglong Yanyu knife that was cut off in half by Lin An. Attached to it is a very strong armament hockey entwined and waved towards Lin An. Sharp. Watch Weibo burst out of power between life and death. It has vaguely reached the level of the Emperor's deputy, and even the top of the Emperor's deputy can compete with Admiral. But, it's still not enough for Lin An today. Very strong, but please go die. The figure passed by. Lin An has passed through Weibo's body. With Lin An bursting out with all his strength this time, Weibo didn't even have time to react. The handle of the gun in his hand was directly broken into two pieces. The physical fitness and strength beyond ordinary people were directly cut down by Lin An's combo skills. The whole body was directly divided into two sections. Time to go. Mission accomplished. Lin An glanced at the direction of Sengoku and the others from the corner of his eye. Sengoku and others are about to catch up at this time. I checked my physical strength. Because this time he took the initiative to attack and used combo skills many times, his physical strength was about to bottom out. It can only be to give up the idea of fighting with Sengoku and the others to collect some attribute points. The ability of sparkling fruit is about to leave again. Want to go? Akainu's voice sounded at this time. There are two extreme temperatures on the left and right sides of Lin An's back. The left half is hot and dry for adults. The right half can be frozen into an ice sculpture. Frozen, snow, lava, dark hound, moment. The moves of Akainu and Aokiji are almost imminent. Lin An's idea of escaping was directly blocked. This is the attack of Marine Admiral, or Akainu and Aokiji, who are Logia Devil Fruit capable users. Even the current Lin An is impossible to ignore. Don't let him escape. Sengoku stared at Lin An firmly at this time. Lin An's actions are really irritating. Although now I know that Lin An is not looking down on Marine to disgust Marine on purpose. But the problem is, they know it but the rest of the world doesn't think so. They will only regard the news that Lin An deliberately broke into Marine twice as Lin An's provocation to Marine. The most important thing is that Marine really has nothing to do with Lin An. Marine is not powerless in the new world. It is not impossible to arrest individual people. But if you want to capture people of Lin An's level, that's not enough. If other people in the world know that Lin An is swimming in the Marine, where the Marine Admiral and Marine Admiral are, they can only laugh at him. Mad taunt. Want to stop this from happening? Then there is only one way to catch Lin An. Good. Garp came to Lin An first. He is the strongest among the four in both speed and strength. At this time, he hit Lin An directly with the momentum of thunder. Iron Fist, accompanied by the roar sounded. The aura around Garp soared into the sky. The armament hockey wrapped around his hands even spread to his whole body at this time, forming a simple armament hockey armor on Garp's body. Asking for flowers. Trouble. Regarding this, Lin An also showed bitterness. Then there is Garp's fist. There are also Aokiji and Akainu's attacks on the left and right sides. This time, he didn't even want to stop. A golden light burst out of his eyes. The Bafang Han sword that had not disappeared in his hand burst out with a strong brilliance at this time. Winky. Flashbang. Flash bombs, as the name suggests. It is similar to the effect of the flash bomb or the sun fist in Dragon Ball. For sparkling fruit, you only need to release strong light as much as possible, because there is no need to pursue damage, and you can even only need brightness. Using sparkling fruit in this way, as long as the brightness does not cause damage, the shining effect even exceeds that of sun fist. The purpose is to blind the opponent so as to buy yourself more time. Point 0. This kind of trick is actually not very useful when the opponent with observation hockey is head on. However, if it is placed on his escape, that would be absolutely foolproof. Watch out for Lin An's sneak attack. What kind of trick is this? Use tricks. The eyes of Sengoku and others have been temporarily blinded by this move. Something's wrong. It was Sengoku who first discovered the problem. With his eyes closed, he tried hard to search for Lin An's location with observation hockey. He found Lin An getting farther and farther away. He didn't want to take the opportunity to sneak attack, but to escape. Sengoku's acuity is adequate. Ideas are also the most vivid. Looking at Lin An gradually going away, the whole person is about to explode. However, there is nothing to do. It can only be an angry roar. Lin An. Do not miss me too much. At this time, Lin An took advantage of the time difference of the flash bomb and flew far away. Hearing Sengoku's voice of about to vomit blood at this moment, he couldn't help laughing out loud. Responded to Sengoku, Lin An flew towards the direction of the 17th team in the distance again. After this fight, although there are not many fights with Sengoku and others. However, it was extremely exhausting, and Lin An at this time was faintly showing signs of going into a coma. Chapter 141 Furious Sengoku, Lin An returns to the ship. Advertise here. Chapter 141 Furious Sengoku, Lin An returns to the ship. What the hell? The effect of the flash bomb disappears. Sengoku looked in the direction Lin An left and almost ran away. Even if it was him, he started scolding his mother directly at this time. What to do? Akainu came to Sengoku's side. There was also an expression of indignation in his eyes. Catch up. Chase. Although Sengoku was angry, his eyes were not blinded by anger. What are you chasing after? Lin An has a sparkling fruit, the speed is much faster than us, and now that the distance has been widened, it is impossible to catch up. As for driving the entire marine there, do you think that after arriving at Whitebeard's territory, should we hunt down and kill Lin An, or the Whitebeard Pirates will recruit people to kill us? Listening to the words of the results of the battle, Yudian stopped talking. Firstly, what Sengoku said was indeed about 873. Secondly, at this time Sengoku has completely lost his mind and gone crazy. The dirty words in his mouth never stopped. This opened Akainu's eyes wide. According to Garp, Sengoku's swear words in his life are not as good as those mentioned here. Whitebeard 17 aboard. As soon as Lin An came back, she lay down on the bed and fell asleep. This sleep lasted 3 days and 3 nights. What happened? Looking in the direction of Lin An's room, everyone else looked at Sheik curiously. As the vice captain of the 17th team, Shark has great recognition in terms of ability and strength. Sheik showed a look of helplessness on his face, raised his chin, and nodded Zephyr who was sitting in the corner. What else could be going on? It's because of him. Everyone turned their eyes away at this moment. There was a hint of unkindness in everyone's eyes. Except for Sheik, no one else knows about the bet between Lin An and Zephyr. But that doesn't stop them from hating Zephyr. After all, Zephyr is the former Marine Admiral, and there are even a lot of people in it who have been impelled down by Zephyr. What should I do now? The crew of 17 didn't like Zephyr. Zephyr knew it. But he didn't care either. Who cares if a bunch of pirates like it or not? What really gave him a headache was yesterday's newspaper. Lin An reported again without accident. Marine interfered with Lin An's trespassing on Punk Hazard and interfered with the battle between Akainu and Aokiji as marshals. This is originally two things, are divided into 2 pages. But because of the intentional ambiguity in the news, those who didn't know thought that Lin An completed this matter on the same day. He actually did it. Messy, confused, hesitant. Zephyr didn't know what he was going to do for a moment. Especially Lin An directly hid in the room and did not come out for 3 days and 3 nights. Every minute that passed was a whip on him. His conscience was greatly condemned. He didn't want to join the ranks of pirates. This not only includes his wife and children being killed by pirates, but also many of his disciples were killed by pirates. It's because he has been a marine all his life, and he has seen too many scenes of pirates slaughtering villages and killing people. Pirates are inherently evil, even if some of them are not bad guys, they are all similar to Whitebeard, Shank and his kind of existence who completely follow his rules. For order, such a good guy might as well just kill people and cause destruction. Because such a good person will make more powerful people yearn for it, and there is a kind of thinking as long as I don't hurt others. Although this is free and easy, it will have a great impact on the real order. That's why they established Shichibukai in the first place. It's not that they want to share order and rights, but they are forced to. But, Zephyr raised his head and looked in the direction of Lin An's room. Lin An hasn't woken up until now, it's all out to avenge him. It doesn't matter if there is a reason why Lin An wants to recruit him into the gang. At least Lin An did what he said. He actually went to kill Wable, and he did it in the presence of Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji surrounded by Marine. The danger. Even if it is the super powerful Marine lineup that the 4 emperors will fall, Lin An still rushes forward without hesitation. This kindness. Enough to impress anyone. That was the result of literally risking your life. Do you really want to join the pirates? Zephyr questioned himself, muttering to himself. Looking up at the sky, Zephyr's eyes were full of confusion. The words have been spoken, and Zephyr, who has been frank all his life, cannot go back on his word. But the problem is, he also played pirates all his life. Let him pirate the ship, how could he accept it? This makes me a little unacceptable. Wake up. The captain is awake. Just when Zephyr fell into confusion. The shark could make a slightly surprised voice. Very hungry. A roar followed. If you don't eat for 3 days and 3 nights, it's no wonder you're not hungry. Lin An walked out of the cabin with red eyes. Kicked open the door. Team leader. Shark leaned directly in front of Lin An. He hugged Lin An happily. You are awake. If the ship's doctor hadn't told me that you were really fine, then I wouldn't have been able to bear it long ago. Shark fin. Sleepy and hungry, Lin An's nose twitched. A smell of seafood entered Lin An's nostrils. Saliva flowed down the corner of Lin An's mouth. Ah, a painful wail came from Shark's mouth. Seeing Lin An's state, Sha-Ke quickly contacted the chef. Go and cook, go and cook. Eat and drink enough. Lin An's eyes shifted to Sha-Ke. Captain, what are you doing? Seeing Lin An's expression, Shake stepped back a few steps. Everyone looked at Lin An warily. That expression seemed to tell Lin An not to eat him. This expression, which could almost be judged to be a joke, almost came true at this time. This made Lin An even more embarrassed. Scratched his nose. Lin An looked away from Sha-Ke. Where's the Zephyr? Hearing Lin An's question, someone immediately pointed to the corner. When Lin An was led by the 17th team to the restaurant, Ku also followed. And played a very important role in it. After all, even if it is Lin An who is so hungry that he is dizzy, has no strength and no reason, it is not a casual person who can bang. Sharks are the best example. Even if his 500 million bounty is considered top-notch at the supernova level, it's the same. Get up slowly. Lin An looked at Zephyr, his eyes full of expectation. Now my promise has been fulfilled. Chapter 142 Zephyr's Confusion, finally joined. Advertise here. Chapter 142 Zephyr's Confusion, finally joined. Zephyr looked at Lin An and opened his mouth. Of course he understood what Lin An meant to him and what Lin An wanted to express. At this moment, he didn't know what to say. Looking at Lin An in front of him, Zephyr looked hesitant. You actually went to fight Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji alone. These 4 people are fiercer than each other. Let alone Sengoku or Garp these days. Even if Akainu and Aokiji play one person at random, he can only deal with it, and cannot win. Certainly. Lin An nodded. Otherwise, do you think there is anyone in this world who can make me almost die outside? Lin An lay down for 3 days and 3 nights. The consumption of this energy is enough to prove everything. Looking at Zephyr, Lin An showed a look of anticipation on his face. Now that what I promised you has been completed, shouldn't the things you promised me be fulfilled? Cash. Become a pirate. It can be said that Zephyr has been struggling with this matter for the past 3 days. But I couldn't make up my mind. His current thoughts are only 2 words, that is regret. I regret that I agreed to it as soon as my head got hot. There are only 2 words for Lin An's thoughts, that is 24 fierce. Lin An really dared to kill directly into the marine fleet guarded by Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. This has completely exceeded the thinking of ordinary people, it is purely a lunatic. Seeing Zephyr like this, Lin An tilted his head and looked at him. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Without. Zephyr shook his head. The line of sight shifted to other places. Except for Lin An, who could keep calm, the eyes of others looking at Zephyr became weird. Many people even directly showed their murderous intent. They don't know the agreement between Lin An and Zephyr, but that doesn't mean they are stupid. These few short sentences are enough for them to analyze that Lin An and Zephyr have an agreement. This is why Lin An almost died outside. Hearing Zephyr's response, Lin An asked again, so, what's the answer I want? Original. Lin An doesn't have much hope for taking down Zephyr. Until Zephyr gets caught up in his own words. Judging by Zephyr's current expression, although it is said to be entangled, it is almost the same. This thing can be done. This. Zephyr looked at Lin An's eyes, and then looked at the eyes of the people around him. He looked a little helpless. What if I say no? No. There was a murderous look on Lin An's face. Then I'll kill you. Since you were saved by me, it should be up to me whether you should die or live. It's true to say that. Hearing Lin An's words, Zephyr was visibly relieved. But, his direction was obviously different from what Lin An thought. That's good, you just kill me. Talking. Zephyr just stood where he was. It was very clear what that appearance represented. That is to let Lin An kill him directly. Zephyr was already struggling with this matter. Now that there are other repayment methods other than joining the pirates, it is better to die directly. As for running away, he really didn't think about it. As a result, Lin An saved his life. Secondly, letting Lin An kill Wabel is what he asked Lin An to do. Although originally he was just saying angry words, he never thought that Lin An could really do it. Now the result is in front of him. And it can be regarded as the double kindness of saving life and helping revenge. How could he, Zephyr, have the face to escape? If I really do this, I am afraid that I will have a conscience for the rest of my life. He was already in his twilight years. I don't want to be disturbed by this kind of emotion in my later years. Thinking of this, Zephyr closed his eyes and pretended to be caught. Do it. It's okay to kill you. Looking at Zephyr, Lin An didn't immediately refuse or refute. Step up slightly. The man walked around in front of Zephyr a few times. However, killing you can only be regarded as repaying my kindness for saving your life. But if I help you avenge the favor, how should I count it? This. Hearing Lin An's words, Zephyr suddenly opened his eyes. Looking at Lin An's face was full of uneasiness. According to his thinking, it is a death of grievances. But Lin An obviously didn't intend to do that. What are you going to do? Lin An also answered very simply. You should be very clear about what I mean. The kindness of saving your life is to smooth out your grudge against pirates, and the kindness of helping revenge is in exchange for you to join the Whitebeard Pirates. How would you like to join the Whitebeard Pirates with 2 favors greater than the sky? It turned out to be waiting for me here. Zephyr looked at Lin An with surprise in his eyes. He also knew that before Lin An came to ask him, he didn't really want to pull himself into the Whitebeard Pirates. After all, he knew what kind of person Zephyr was. Lin An's real idea is to force himself to say something to make him owe him another favor. And I was really fooled. Certainly, it's not a bad thing to be him. If you have to say it. He is still being hunted down by Marine, and it is also Marine Admiral Kizaru. Life was not easy for him. Joining the Whitebeard Pirates would also make him a little more comfortable. Coupled with Lin An's life-saving grace and helping revenge. After several additions, Lin An paid much more, while Zephyr only got benefits without paying anything. This. Zephyr 180 fell into confusion again. This move by Lin An blocked him directly. Now as long as he has even a little bit of conscience, it is impossible to refuse Lin An. What's more, Zephyr himself is a person of this temperament. Don't say you owe someone a favor. Even if someone treats him better, he has to find a way to return it. Seeing Zephyr's appearance, Lin An shook his head slightly. If you don't like it, you can just leave now. Talking. Lin An looked aside. Shake, go find a small boat and prepare a month's supply of food and fresh water for Zephyr. Ah, Shark was immediately taken aback. Lin An almost gave his life for Zephyr. And he was Zephyr's savior, so he let him go without getting any benefit. Is this for charity? They are pirates. Team leader. Shut up. Let you go and throw it away. Before Shake could finish speaking, Lin An interrupted him directly. It's a good move to retreat. Looking at Lin An, Zephyr smiled wryly. He didn't think there was anything wrong with Lin An's tricks and methods. While applauding, he shook his head to express his admiration. You succeeded. I join your Whitebeard Pirates. Chapter 143 The Shock of the Whitebeard Pirate Ship. Advertise here. Chapter 143 The Shock of the Whitebeard Pirate Ship. That's the way it is. Whitebeard on the pirate ship. Lin An followed Zephyr, and told the people around him about the process of subduing Zephyr. So that's it. Let me tell you why you broke into the Marine twice in a row. Whitebeard looked at Lin An and Zephyr with his signature smile. Especially when his eyes fell on Zephyr, he smiled even more happily. Seeing Whitebeard's smile, Zephyr was slightly annoyed. What are you laughing at, old man? Seeing Zephyr like this, Whitebeard laughed even more arrogantly. Gu la la la. Nothing. I just thought it was fun. Stand up slowly. Whitebeard glanced around, looked at everyone in the room. I'm going to get together with old friends. You all go out first. Yes, everyone answered directly. Others including Lin An and Margao nodded in response. Older powerhouses like Whitebeard and Zephyr are familiar with each other, and it is basically unrealistic to continue to get together after they reach their age. What's more, one of Whitebeard and Zephyr is a marine and the other is a pirate. They must have a lot to say at this point. Quickly. Everyone else retreated, leaving only Whitebeard and Zephyr in the room. Watching the others leave, Zephyr's frown gradually relaxed. Only then did Baihu speak again. How about it, what do you think now? Brother, yes. As soon as they walked out of Whitebeard's room, Margao, Jose, Ace and others immediately arrested Lin An. He raised it above his head and quickly ran into another cabin. They are all brothers here, and Lin An didn't make any resistance. Wait a minute, I'll check Lin An. Others were just about to come over and ask about Lin An's glorious history of entering and exiting the marine. Margao stopped immediately. As the ship doctor of the Whitebeard Pirates, Margao's medical skills are not weak. After checking Lin An's body, Margao was obviously relieved. There are still some dark wounds in the body. Take a good rest recently. I will prescribe some medicine for you later, and you will recover after about half a month of recuperation. Clear. Lin An nodded. Fighting Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, and Aokiji 4 people, and they fought twice in less than a week. Some dark wounds are unavoidable. Can I ask now? After Margao finished checking Lin An, Ins came forward directly. Clamp Lin An to the armpit. Looking at Lin An with a little excitement. Brother, come and tell us about your battle with Sengoku. It's actually nothing. The sparkling fruit ability was activated, and Lin An escaped directly from Jaws's armpit. The guy has strength about his size. Huge. If it was just being hit by his punch and just feeling the strength of his fist, it would definitely not be surprising if someone mistakenly thought it was a giant. What Dad said is basically what I have experienced in the past few days. Basically everything that can be said has been told to you. As for what happened before going to Punk Hazard and what happened after bringing Zephyr Admiral back, you all know. This says. Some are too simple. Looking at Lin An, Margao, Josie and the others felt speechless for a while. Lin An only said 3 sentences. First sentence. I was spotted when I went to Punk Hazard, so I fought with Sengoku, Garp Akainu, and Aokiji, and escaped without a fight. The second sentence. After escaping, I wanted to come back directly, but I met Zephyr Admiral on the way. Zephyr Admiral is the one who decides to train people in Marine. I want to pull Zephyr Admiral on board. In the third game, Zephyr Admiral didn't want to go on the boat, so I helped him avenge and killed Wable, and Zephyr Admiral agreed to go on the boat. Is this all that can be said? Now it seems that it is basically unrealistic for Lin An to tell what happened to him by himself. B4. Think for a while. Ace looked at Lin An and said calmly. So, Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji are weak. Not weak. Lin An looked at Ace. He didn't know what information gave Ace such confidence. Ace ignored Lin An's eyes, and continued to ask. So, you fought them easily. It's not easy. Lin An looked around. Focus on the people around you. Almost everyone's eyes look like this. It seems that just such an explanation can't fill the curiosity of these guys. Other processes are obviously less important. If Margao, Ace, Jose and others are really satisfied, it is obviously impossible not to say more things. Okay, you don't have to play dumb like this. Don't you just want to know the details of my battle with the Marines? Quote. Let me tell you in detail. Then, Lin An gave a detailed account of his 2 battles with Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. Ace was fascinated when he heard it, and looked at Lin An with a little admiration. I'll go, you are too fierce now, aren't you? After the awareness of life and death in the Summit War, coupled with Lin An's reminder during the 4 Emperors' War between Whitebeard and Kaido, Ace's strength has grown by leaps and bounds. Now he is the strongest person in the Whitebeard Pirates except for Whitebeard and Lin An. Although the current Ace can't be the opponent of the Admiral-level powerhouse, but it is almost the same, and there cannot be too much difference. Even with such an Ace, together with Margao and Chaozi, there is absolutely no way to reach the level of Lin An. Not to mention escaped alive from Sengoku, Garp, Akainu and Aokiji. It would be nice not to be killed on the spot. And although Lin An said it lightly, no one can imagine how difficult it is. Your guys, you can't do such dangerous things anymore, do you understand? I'm not dangerous either. Physical strength has been carefully calculated. Lin An complained in his heart. His gaze swept across the faces of Margao, Ace, Josie and others. Looking at their caring and threatening eyes, he shrank his neck. Nod directly. Understood. The room where Whitebeard is. Whitebeard looked at Zephyr in front of him, eyes full of happiness. What are you laughing at, old man? Zephyr frowned slightly dissatisfied. Gu la la la, tongue. Hearing Zephyr's voice and seeing Zephyr's unhappy expression, Whitebeard laughed even more wildly. Of course it was an accident. Chapter 144 Whitebeard and Zephyr. Advertise here. Chapter 144 Whitebeard and Zephyr. An accident. Yes, an accident. Of course Whitebeard knew that Zephyr would join the Whitebeard Pirates because Zephyr was tricked by Lin An and owed 2 favors. But even so, it is still surprising that Zephyr can join the ranks of pirates. Accident. Listening to Whitebeard's words, Jonfa smiled wryly. Not to mention Whitebeard, even he himself has no idea what will happen next to him. A promise must be made, otherwise he will not have even a minute of peace in the rest of his life. You should know me, ever since I fell into that bastard's trap, it's impossible for me not to be affected. If you say that, I think of you once. Looking at Zephyr, Whitebeard's face curved slightly. Back to the era that belonged to them in my mind. Pirates have him Whitebeard, as well as Roger, Golden Lion, Kaido, Big Mom. Marine has Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr, Crane. Everyone can say that what he has experienced individually can be said to be the same in the past month. This is that era. That era is enough to scare anyone. If 447 said that Garp and Roger are friends, and Sengoku and I are friends, you and Golden Lion are also an interesting combination. Listening to Whitebeard's words, Zephyr also fell into a state of contemplation. Hee. It's true. Suddenly, the past years and wasted time appeared in his mind. Although it seems that the 3 pairs of combinations are quite interesting, they are actually very different. Garp and Roger belong to the Dead Brain group, and they are completely in love with each other. Sengoku and Whitebeard belong to the brainstorming group, and they even thought about each other's thoughts after dozens of sentences. He and Golden Lion were not so particular, and they were even very casual, so casual that even though Golden Lion was caught, he was not caught. The main reason is that although the Golden Lion is powerful, most of them play in the New World and never come out to harm others. In addition, the Golden Lion has an unimaginable obsession with Roger. The Golden Lion stopped doing evil after Roger entered the New World. Think here. Zephyr raised an eyebrow, looking at Whitebeard with a slightly weird look. No wonder I always feel a little familiar with that kid Lin An. It's exactly what you taught. Whitebeard appears to be reminiscing with Zephyr. In fact, it reminded Zephyr of his chasing career with the Golden Lion. At that time, he wasn't too crazy about pirates. Gu la la la. Whitebeard's trademark laugh rang out. He neither denied nor acknowledged Zephyr's words. This also means that Zephyr's conjecture is completely correct. To be honest, it's really hard for me to imagine that you and I will be on the same boat. Who said it wasn't? Although Zephyr knew what Whitebeard was thinking, he didn't take it seriously. After all, they are all on the same boat now, and it is useless to argue about those things. Ha ha. Suddenly, Zephyr looked at Whitebeard and laughed. Tell me, the combination of my predecessor, Marine Admiral, and you, the strongest emperor of pirates, the uncrowned king of New World, will the jaws of the whole world be shocked if it spreads? More than that, Whitebeard is also cooperative. You know, from the moment you became a Marine, you have never had a good impression of pirates. After thinking for a while, Whitebeard spoke again. Your disciple Sakazuki completely inherited your hatred. No. Zephyr shook his head at Whitebeard's words. The denial made Whitebeard give him a disapproving look. You don't have to be angry. Zephyr and Whitebeard explained. Of course he knew that Whitebeard couldn't be mad at something so trivial. But, he still needs to explain what should be explained. Since being persuaded by Lin An, and after letting Whitebeard seduce the past Seif memories, he has completely let go. After all, Marines and pirates are both human beings. As long as you have goodwill in your heart, it doesn't matter where you work. He's more aggressive than me. If my justice is strict justice, his justice is complete justice. He will do anything for what he wants, even some dirty methods. My disciples all have their own shortcomings. If it is said that I look down on Pelusolino the most for his ability to rely on fruit, then the most dissatisfied disciple in my heart is Sakazuki. Whitebeard wasn't impressed by Zephyr's words. So he didn't interrupt or chime in. Whitebeard didn't speak until Zephyr had finished speaking. Only you in this world are qualified to say that. Right now, half of Marine's high-level executives are your disciples. If you say that you are more tactful, your status in Marine may be higher than that of Marine Marshal Sengoku on the surface. Zephyr did not deny Whitebeard's words. Because what he said was the truth. It's just that he chose to go out independently because he couldn't accept Marine's slowness. By the way, what is Roger's great secret treasure? The relationship between you two is very important. He probably gave you the key to the final island long ago, right? If you talk about the final island, Roger indeed gave me the pointer to that island. Whitebeard laughed at Zephyr's startled expression. Gu la la la. Don't worry too. Although Roger said he would give it to me, he made me fall. Falled. Zephyr looked at Whitebeard in disbelief. That expression was like looking at a fool. You have to know, what does going to that place represent? Isn't countless people in this world flocking to the final island just for the title of One Piece? You think I'm here? Whitebeard looked at the slightly excited look and spoke indifferently. After the question was asked, Zephyr's expression stayed on his face. Really? Whitebeard didn't care at all. He was originally called the Uncrowned King, that is, the Uncrowned One Piece. If there really is such an authoritative title as One Piece in this world, then there are only two people in the whole world. One is Gol D. Roger, the man who turned the world upside down. The other one is Edward Newgate in front of him, the strongest in the world recognized by both pirates and marines. Right. Zephyr smiled flatly. The two old guys, Whitebeard and Zephyr, also stopped talking at this time. Looking into the distance. Chapter 145 The News That Shocked the World. Advertise here. Chapter 145 The News That Shocked the World. On a certain island in the Grand Line, a man is drinking tea with a newspaper in his hand. It was just a leisure time to rest while working. But after seeing the news in the newspaper, I was stunned. Crack. The sound of the teacup in his hand falling to the ground and breaking was heard, which made his body, which had been suspended for a few minutes, start working again. The whole person stood up straight away, his eyes almost protruding from their sockets. Originally a 200-pound man, at this moment, he uttered a shrill voice like a woman's. What? Zephyr Admiral actually joined the Whitebeard Pirates. No wonder he was so surprised. Back then when pirates were rampant, this island was saved by Shifa. They were too impressed with Zephyr. That's purely a pirate buster. Those who wish to directly kill all the pirates in the world actually quit the marine and joined the pirates. How is this possible? This person slumped on the chair, giving people a sense of despair with collapsed beliefs and a broken worldview. Zephyr has wiped out countless pirates in his life, and he is famous all over the world for only capturing but not killing even one pirate. With such an image and the fact that he himself stands at the center of the world's attention, Marine Admiral, he naturally has a huge influence in the world. It can be said, Zephyr's joining the pirates is a bigger event than the failure of Summit War. Lin An is indeed one of the most threatening people to Marine. He made the Impel Down collective defection, overthrew the Summit War, and even defeated the Mouth of Beasts among the four emperors. All of these things shocked the world's major powers and made them alert. But the people that these things can affect are limited to this. For the vast majority of ordinary people in this world, they even forgot Lin An's name. After all, they are just ordinary people. I have no intention of remembering people who have nothing to do with me. But Zephyr is different. Although he is a marine admiral because of his hatred for pirates, he always sprints to the front line. There are countless villages and islands where he has lived. The popularity among the people even exceeds that of Marine Marshal, Sengoku and Marine Hero, Garp. Even though he has disappeared for 10 years now. There are still many people who sang about him. Zephyr's name, what he has done, and his pervert-like ability to educate people are all impressive. There are even some people who say indignantly that Akainu, Aokiji and Kizaru of this generation of Marine Admiral are not as good as the same. Now that Zephyr has become a pirate, the blow to this group of people is no less than the end of the world. Somewhere in the ocean, a figure looked at the article in the newspaper, with disbelief written all over his face. Real or fake? Stand up. That figure flew straight into the sky. Look carefully. The island he was on was actually floating in midair. This person is the Golden Lion Shiki, who has the title of Flying Pirate. At this moment, Golden Lion looked at the news in the newspaper with a cigar in his mouth, feeling unbelievable. It's like Roger and Garp are best friends. Whitebeard and Sengoku can even see through each other's underpants. If anyone in the world knows Zephyr best, then there is only this Golden Lion. As a good partner, who used to play together on the sea, chasing and playing with each other. Golden Lion knows this opponent very well. It would be better to kill him than let him join the pirates. However, this is the truth. Although the information in the newspaper cannot be completely believed, in order to ensure its credibility, the newspaper will at most say half of the big things and keep the other half. It is similar to the previous report that Lin An attacked Marine twice, but the blurred boundaries make people mistakenly think it was once. The authenticity is it won't be a big problem. In this case, it will be more interesting. Put the newspaper aside. The corner of Golden Lion's mouth cracked an arc. The whole person looked excited. Whitebeard Pirates. It's just that the old bastard Whitebeard obviously couldn't get Zephyr in. After thinking about it for a while, Golden Lion thought of the character who had recently stirred up the entire world's top management and forces and had to pay attention. It looks like it should be this kid named Lin An. I really don't know what charm this guy has to be able to draw him into the Whitebeard Pirates. In a corner of the world, there is a person sitting in a small room. Long, that kid Lin An seems to have made a big deal again. A teenager with burns on his face rushed into the room enthusiastically. Sabo, I've been teaching you for so long and you're still so careless. The person in the room is Monkey D. Dragon, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, the son of Garp and the father of Luffy. The boy who rushed in was Sabo. Sabo is Ace, Luffy's sworn brother. The second among the three brothers, because he wanted to be a pirate, he was attacked by celestial dragons when he went to sea for the first time, and was rescued by the dragon. Although his life was safe, he lost his memory because of it. After seeing the news that Ace was arrested and rescued, he regained his memory and became very interested in Lin An. There is no way, this is the benefactor who saved Ace. Sabo didn't show caution or anxiety because of the dragon's dissatisfaction. 0.0. On the contrary, he sat down opposite the dragon generously. Handed the newspaper in his hand to Long. I'm afraid you will be surprised by the news this time. What news can still surprise me? Regarding Sabo's words, Long was noncommittal. He is the leader of the Revolutionary Army, and he is also a person who has experienced great storms. The existence of 4 emperors' level strength was killed. A country of tyrants of luxury and lust. A slave market that treats people like goods. He has seen all the injustices in this world. Even Lin An, who made the whole world pay attention a while ago, he didn't care much. Take the newspaper. Just saw the headline. Shocked, ex-Marine Admiral Zephyr joins the Whitebeard Pirates. The whole person fell into confusion in an instant. He looked up and down the newspaper. Then carefully turned it back and forth, left and right. However, the answer he was looking for was not there. He looked up at Sabo. Mouth slightly opened. It's okay, this time the newspaper is doing well, to the point where I can't tell the difference. As a revolutionary army, sending messages around the world is clearly necessary. Forging newspapers has always been an idea of the Revolutionary Army, but newspapers require special materials and encryption methods. Their Revolutionary Army has never cracked the mystery. Chapter 146 The World's Reaction. Chapter 146 The World's Reaction. Now this real newspaper. It was Long who mistakenly thought that Sabo had mastered the means of copying newspapers. Good job. Do you want any reward? Long, it doesn't mean that we have made progress in the craft of imitating newspapers. Looking at the dragon's appearance, Sabo also understood what he was thinking now. There was also a speechless expression on his face. And the news is true, now the whole world knows that Zephyr has joined the Whitebeard Pirates. What? The usually unsmiling dragon was dumbfounded. Stand up with a crack. There was still disbelief in his eyes. This matter is really beyond people's expectations. Seeing the dragon's reaction, Sabo nodded in satisfaction. That's right, it's true. This world. Long looked at Sabo seriously. And Sabo didn't have any intention of backing down. This made Long believe in such an unbelievable thing. There is such a thing. The dragon's eyes were full of confusion. The image of Zephyr flashed in his mind. He really couldn't figure out why someone like Zephyr would join the Whitebeard Pirates. Lin An. This time, Long suddenly thought of Lin An's name. The whole person showed a hesitant expression. It should be this kid. That said, I'm a little interested in him. New World, Wanokuni. In an underground cave. Governor, there is something new. There were only 2 people in the cave. One is Kaido and the other is Jin. The deaths of Quinn and Jack directly hit the Beast's pirates hard. At this time, the only person who can directly talk to Kaido is Jin, the big signboard. Also benefited from this. Fei Lubao's status has improved a lot. But, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing I don't know. It won't be that Lin An again, right? Looking at Jin in front of him, Kaido showed annoyance on his face. Ever since Lin An came to prominence, he hasn't had a good time. Now the overall strength of the Beast's pirates has been weakened a lot. Even the territory that originally belonged to the Beast's pirates was swallowed up by the Whitebeard Pirates. However, even with so much going on, he did not dare to retaliate. Lin An's strength is not inferior to him. And Whitebeard is there. If the Whitebeard Pirates used to rely on Whitebeard's absolute strength to become the king of the New World, then the current Whitebeard Pirates have become the king of the New World by virtue of their overall strength. No. Jin shook his head in denial. But I guess it must have something to do with him. While talking, Jin handed the newspaper to Kaido. What? Seeing the information in the newspaper, people were immediately stunned. That old Zephyr joins the Whitebeard Pirates. Jin nodded. There is also urgent need in the eyes. He still hasn't recovered from the fear that Lin An almost killed him. If it wasn't for the rapid recovery of his racial talent, he must be fighting the landlord with Quinn and Jack below. That's why I said it was about Lin An. Except for him, there should be no one in the Whitebeard Pirates who has this ability, even Whitebeard. Kaido threw the newspaper aside, with a serious expression on his face. I got it. Quote. New World, 10,000 Islands. The candy minister anxiously came to the ant who was eating. Mom, the Whitebeard Pirates have something to do again. Anything else? Listening to the candy minister's words, the ant showed a displeased expression on her whole face. Originally, she hated people disturbing her when she was eating. But, now there is no such bad thing at all. Especially when hearing about the Whitebeard Pirates. Big Mom jumped off the throne and came to the Minister of Candy. Say it. As such that, the Minister of Sweets handed the newspaper to Big Mom. Then continued. The former Marine Admiral Zephyr has joined the Whitebeard Pirates. What? Ant directly breaks the sound, even giving people the meaning that the sound is turning a corner. She looked at the information in the newspaper and stood there in a daze. Whitebeard. Big Mom frowned. There was a touch of mania in the whole person, but he held back the meaning. Wrong. Sudden. There was a look of relief on the ant's face. The corner of the mouth curled up. This may also be a good opportunity. Great opportunity to restructure the Rocks pirate. New World. On more remote seas. The main ship of the Red Hair Pirates sails across the ocean. No way. Shanks looked at the contents of the newspaper with a dull expression on his whole body. Zephyr Admiral actually joined the Whitebeard Pirates. Shanks was afraid of being wrong. He rubbed his eyes vigorously. After repeated confirmation, I believed the contents of the newspaper. Isn't this too cruel? Let others live. The whole new world is given to you Whitebeard Pirates. Shanks was unhappy, complaining that the Whitebeard Pirates were too strong. But there was no expression of too much nervousness on his face, it was obviously just lip service. It seems that this Lin An is not easy. Beckman stood beside Shanks, with a cigarette dangling from his mouth, showing a dignified expression. He was not surprised when he knew that Lin An was the culprit behind Impel Down's escape, because if it were him, he would also have the confidence. After all, it was the Summit War at that time, and Marine couldn't help Impel Down. Although Magellan was strong, but it's not without weaknesses. He knew that when Lin An reversed the outcome of the Summit War, he didn't care about it, because the Whitebeard Pirates themselves have the possibility of confronting Marine head-on. Sex is not low. He knew that Lin An was not surprised when he defeated Kaido. After all, Kaido also fought Whitebeard in the very beginning one. It consumed a lot of stamina. But now that Lin An has actually recruited Zephyr into the Whitebeard Pirates, he has to be convinced. The whole world knows what Zephyr is. Although there is no evidence to prove that cannot join the Whitebeard Pirates because of Lin An. But there is no need to think about such things. Lin An is the only person in the Whitebeard Pirates who may have this ability. Even if it was Whitebeard of the same generation, Zephyr couldn't believe him. Shanks nodded. Apparently, he also believed that Lin An did this. So, now we have met a formidable opponent. Chapter 147 Marine is Num 2. Advertise here. Chapter 147 Marine is Num 2. That's right, it's the opponent. The new world is the world of the four emperors, and it is also the territory of the four emperors. They were rivals to each other. Beckman looked at Shanks and thought for a while. Now that there is such a person, do you still think Luffy is the future, is it hope? Beckman's words stopped Shanks directly. The reason why he identified Luffy was because he saw courage from Luffy and the same perseverance as Roger. But, if only that was the case. Obviously not enough. It's the same even if Luffy ate the human fruit. That's right. Shanks found the devil fruit by himself, and went back to East Blue to find the devil fruit. How could he not know what the devil fruit is? It is not Paramesha rubber fruit at all, but Zone Everyone's fruit, Nika form. The reason why the devil fruit has the power of rubber is entirely because Nika is an elf on the rubber tree. If I could still believe firmly before, then I really can't do it now. 24. Shanks shook his head. There can only be one king in an era. The king is definitely the strongest one. Today's Lin An is not a few years older than Luffy, but Lin An knows Conqueror's Haki, Armament Haki and Observation Haki. Conqueror's Haki. Conqueror's Haki Entangling, Armament Haki Entangling, and Observation Haki Prediction. The enhanced state of Conqueror's Haki has been fully mastered. It even has Shock Fruit, the strongest fruit of Paramesha, and Logia's Sparkling Fruit at the same time. His own strength has reached the level that can defeat the four emperors. Luffy's character and quality are indeed what he is optimistic about. Only, if you want to be the person who can change the world, if you don't have strong strength, you really can't do it. As for Luffy, even at the supernova level, it can only be regarded as mediocre. The two are still about the same age, and the difference in strength is already huge. It is obviously unrealistic to surpass such a big gap at the same age. After a little thought, Shanks narrowed his eyes slightly. However, I haven't completely lost my confidence. Although I haven't had much interaction with Lin An, I can see what kind of person he is. If Luffy's character can infect him, maybe it is possible. Possible. Listening to Shanks' words, Beckman was speechless. He really didn't expect the word to come out of Shanks' mouth. It might mean that it might not work. In the eyes of people at their level, what is possible will be directly regarded as impossible. Shanks obviously thought that Luffy was impossible, but he still refused to admit it. Shrugging, Beckman looked at Shanks and said, "Whatever you want." Sabayati Archipelago, Marine Temporary Headquarters. I always feel that there are too many things recently. Sengoku looked at the people below, suddenly a little thankful that he was dismissed. The things I have encountered in the past few months are more and bigger than the sum of the previous 10 years. And one thing is more shocking than the other. Focusing on Kizaru, Sengoku said again, "Porosalino, what's going on?" Kizaru looked at Sengoku and shrugged. "I am not sure as well. I was chasing Teacher Zephyr." Kizaru told his story again. The reason Kizaru didn't go to Punk Hazard was because he was sent to deal with Zephyr. The Marine knows that Zephyr quit the Marine and reorganized a new Marine. However, Marine knew that Guay knew and didn't take it seriously at first. After all, there are so many forces in the sea that Marine can't control, and they also know Zephyr's character. The problem is, Zephyr actually wants to blow up New World. This is related to countless lives in the New World. If Zephyr is really allowed to do it, then the degree of influence will even be selected as the four emperors of the New World. Helpless, can only order to hunt down. However, although Zephyr's strength is not as good as before because of a broken arm, it is definitely not something he can easily kill. After chasing all the way, the two fought all the way. Finally, the two fought together on an uninhabited island. When Zephyr directly detonated the bomb and the island was about to be destroyed, Kizaru evacuated and lost his trace. That's the way it is. Kizaru's expression was slightly helpless. I thought he had died in the aftermath of the island explosion, but now it seems that he was in a near-death state or was affected by the vibration of the bomb and the aftermath of the island's destruction. I see. Sengoku nodded. No wonder Kizaru is responsible for this incident. At this time, messages and clues flickered in Sengoku's mind. He already believed that Zephyr was able to join the Whitebeard Pirates because of Lin An's relationship. Based on this inference, the result can be easily deduced. Combining the information given by Kizaru and Lin An's two appearances on Fad and Hosses, it is easy to figure it out. Now it seems that Zephyr was injured by the bomb and the island was destroyed and drifted in the sea, and was rescued by Lin An on board. For some reason, Lin An found out that Zephyr's enemy is Wable. In order to pull Zephyr onto the boat, he took the initiative to kill Wable. The reason why we didn't wait for a while before we left may be because Zephyr left during this period. It will be difficult to find someone at that time. This kind of explanation can make sense. Lin An came to Marine at first, just because he wanted to join in the fun. 983 inches. The second time is with the purpose, which is to kill Wable. I have to say, Sengoku's mind is really powerful. It's just an inference, and it turned out to be almost the same as what Lin An did. No one else has any objections to Sengoku's words. They can still trust Sengoku's ability. Of course, these are not important anymore. What I want to know now is how we can eliminate the influence of Zephyr joining the pirates. The people in charge below include Garp, Akainu, Aokiji, Kizaru and most of the marine executives. However, no one can give a solution at this time. No way. Garp looked at Sengoku this time. There was a look of helplessness on his face. The influence of that old Zephyr guy in the world is too great, we can't handle it at all. If there is any solution, the only solution left is cold treatment and letting things ferment naturally. As that's so, seeing Garp's serious face, Sengoku smiled wryly. He also knows how difficult the problem with Zephyr is to solve. Chapter 148. Restoration of Bai Tuan. Advertise here. Chapter 148 Recovery of the White Group. Zephyr is the role model for the entire Marine. If it wasn't for Garp's achievements in defeating Rock's pirate, the most famous and prestigious admiral of their generation would definitely be Zephyr instead of Garp. Even so, Zephyr has a great reputation throughout the world. After all, this is the Marine instructor who trained most of the Marines. Admiral is still the one who likes to go to the front line and clean up the pirates with his own hands. This kind of him makes many people in the world have an impression of him. Its ability is extraordinary. Whether it is in Marine, pirates, other forces or even ordinary people, they all have a lot of fame. Zephyr's betrayal of Marine was enough to shock everyone. Why? 1 inch. Sighed. Sengoku had a look of melancholy on his face. That's the only way to go. Facing other matters, Sengoku still has ways to solve them, but he can't do anything about such things as Zephyr's betrayal of Marine. Now it can only be an ostrich tactic. New World, the Whitebeard Pirates aboard the Moby Dick. At this time, members of the Whitebeard Alliance ship group are here. Following Whitebeard's 43 ships, representatives of various factions, islands and nations. After the Summit War and the Four Emperors War, the loss of Baihu's own alliance fleet is really too great. The number of elites dropped sharply from 50,000 to 30,000, and 2/5 of them lost doctors. It would not be an exaggeration to say that his vitality was seriously injured. Father, what should we do with such a large shortage of personnel? Margar looked at Whitebeard, also grimacing. It's not that they don't have the opportunity to recruit members again. Most of the prisoners brought back by Lin An from Impel Down chose to join the Whitebeard Alliance ship group, except for people like Crocodile and Jinbei or Ivankov who already have power. The more than 1,000 people who followed Lin An, and the other people who belonged to the Whitebeard Alliance ship group also received some of them. Only, not enough to restore the Whitebeard Alliance fleet to its heyday. Because of Whitebeard and Lin An, basically no one dares to provoke Whitebeard and Lin An in the field of vision of the Whitebeard Alliance. This makes the sphere of influence under Whitebeard's rule as calm as usual, and in fact the space below is nearly twice as empty as before. We need people with similar strength to supplement. Margau's words reached the hearts of these pirate captains, power leaders or heads of state. They were exhausted, and people died. Now it is not too much to just want some masters or masters. That's good. Whitebeard looked around. These people who seem to be urging their lives are people who are willing to take people to follow them to the Summit War. People who are under such a big event as the Summit War are willing to help. This is the greatest loyalty. Now that he needs to fill the vacancy in his own strength, he will naturally not refuse. Looking down, Whitebeard said, "How many people do you need?" "We need 100 people there. If we are here, there are at least 100 people." At this point everyone started talking. Basically, there are hundreds of people. At least a dozen or 20 people are enough, and the most is 600 people. In fact, these numbers don't need to be too many, but the crux of the problem is that Whitebeard has too many forces. Counting the pirate ships, forces, islands and countries that followed him, there are probably nearly 200 square meters. Fine. After counting the numbers, Whitebeard breathed a sigh of relief. What everyone needs is not the masters and strong ones who have practiced well, but people with potential. This is also the means by which Whitebeard will compensate everyone if there is any loss following Whitebeard. That is, the reserve of the Whitebeard Pirates. These are specially trained by the Whitebeard Pirates. Although it is not up to the level of members of the Whitebeard Pirates, it is still possible to board the ship. One thing to be clear is that although the Whitebeard Pirates are not taking the route of a small ship but a big ship, those who can board the Whitebeard Pirates can fight against 100, or 1 against 10. Even the reserves are about the same. Putting this into their hands, they are definitely masters, and they can even be regarded as a small opening. The total number of people needed by these 200 forces is about 30,000. It's not time to break through Whitebeard's reserves. Only. Even so, it's about the same. There are a total of 40,000 people on Whitebeard on the reserve training island. After supplementing with Whitebeard's own summit war and the Battle of Four Emperors, it was less than 40,000 and it was too late to recover. If all the requirements of these forces are met, that would directly drain Whitebeard's reserves. It will take at least 2 to 3 years to train the reserves. But, Whitebeard suddenly thought of Lin An and Zephyr who ran to the reserve island. One of these two guys is Marine Instructor, and the other is Pirate Instructor. Training time should be greatly reduced, right? Okay, go to Margao to get a document later, and the rest of the procedure is the same as before. Quote. This Whitebeard reserve island is not unique to Whitebeard alone. In the beginning, it was composed of many forces, islands and countries, with the purpose of resisting many pirates in the New World. Since being sheltered by Whitebeard, they also gave this reserve island to Whitebeard. Gradually, the existence of other pirate groups, forces, islands, countries, etc. that were affected by Whitebeard also mostly contributed money and effort. There is also a situation where everyone else on the reserve island can use it. As for Whitebeard's priority, it is because of his strength and the Whitebeard pirate group's greatest contribution to the Whitebeard Alliance ship group. This gave Whitebeard the right to review and assign. Whitebeard began to issue verification orders to Margot Joes. Don't forget, as many people as you take away, you have to send in as many people. Since there is an exit, there must be an entry. Otherwise, even 1 million people would not be enough to consume. There are now rules. Okay. People can be taken away, but some people must be brought back. Countries and islands, which have their own city defenses, directly send soldiers and guards. Pirates, the various forces will give their own answers. That is to pay more. Reserve Island. At this time Lin An was lying on the side looking in the direction of the reserve. Now that Zephyr has been found, the law refuses to pirate the battlefield. Then there is only one place for him to go. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power. Close black lens bracket. Very good. Open black lens bracket. You picked up an armament hockey perception experience. Close black lens bracket. Not bad. I had armament hockey when I was in reserve, and my future is limitless. Chapter 149. Lin An said that fishing is also a way of life. Advertise here. Chapter 149. Lin An said that fishing is also a way of life. This reserve island is a treasure of Lin An. The reason why he was able to go from just boarding the ship to the rank of Emperor's deputy in more than a year is because he picked up attributes on the reserve island. Although it is said that he is an official crew member when he boards the ship, he does not need to practice on the reserve island. But everyone in the Whitebeard Pirates can come to the reserve island to help with training when there is no mission. It was at that time that he left the shadow an impression of pirate instructor on people. At this time, the people on the reserve island were all assigned by the various forces under the Whitebeard Pirates, and they were replaced by newcomers. This is the troublesome place, otherwise, the attribute dropped by 40,000 people is enough for me not to go out. Looking at Zephyr, who was training newcomers, Lin An yawned. Since it is a reserve island, it means that most of the people are newcomers, even pure newcomers who have never seen blood. They don't say that it doesn't constitute any combat power. Movements are difficult to unify, and everyone's quality is different. It will take at least a year to train them, and it will take 2 to 3 years to reach the level where they can board a ship in the event of mass death in a non-summit war or Four Emperors War. Arrive. This kind of training is not in a war, and there is no possibility of fighting. Secondly, it's also because everyone is ignorant and doesn't have much insight into turning the station. 803 attributes will not drop a lot. Open black lens bracket. You picked up a power. Close black lens bracket. While complaining, Lin An looked at Zephyr's direction. There was also an expression of admiration on his face. This guy is a Marine Admiral who has educated people for decades. This ability to educate people is indeed powerful. It hasn't been half a month since the two of them arrived in Shanghai, the reserve island, and these reserve players, almost all of whom have been replaced by newcomers, have become a bit decent, and have even begun to become a stable production attribute for Lin An. Standing up, Lin An came to the training place where these reserve soldiers were. With 40,000 people, each of them needs at least 4 square meters of activity venues, and this large platform covers an area of nearly 80,000 square meters. Lin An instructor. It also happened to be the time for Zephyr training and it was time to rest. Seeing Lin An coming, someone quickly came over. 4 Emperors Friction Event, Impel Down Event, Summit War Event, Zephyr Defection Marine Event. All these piles are in their hearts. Lin An can be said to be the god of the entire Whitebeard pirate group and its subordinate forces. Why don't you come and train us yourself? The rear siege backup who spoke was Xiao Yu, a squid human race from the Fishman Island. It can be regarded as one of the more outstanding ones in this batch of reserves. Looking at Xiao Yu, Lin An directly expressed his thoughts without any hesitation or consideration of face. Of course it's because Zephyr has stronger fertility. Ah, Xiao Yu looked at Lin An in disbelief. Although it is said that Zephyr's ability has been fully reflected in this half-month. Even in a large class of 40,000 people, almost everyone's strength can be raised to a higher level in just half a month. But the point is, Lin An is not bad either. No. I always feel that you are stronger, Captain Lin An. In terms of real strength, none of the 3 Zephyrs can beat me. Lin An said without any exaggeration. This kind of statement naturally attracted the attention of Fa, who was not far away. Lin An ignored Zephyr's almost cannibalistic gaze. Continue to talk to Xiao Yu, but you want to. Naturally, the older you are, the more you know about things like educating people. Zephyr has taught and educated people several times as long as I have lived. Although I have the ability to educate people, you can't think that talent can erase the gap caused by time, right? I see. Xiao Yu nodded with a half understanding. Lin An's words seem to be very casual, but they are actually very particular. It not only leaves enough face for Zephyr, but also does not make itself look too useless and lose value. However, Xiao Yu obviously didn't understand. He heard 2 things. Zephyr's ability to educate people is very strong, and then Zephyr can't beat Lin An, and even the 3 Zephyrs can't beat Lin An. Thank you, Captain Lin An. I seem to understand something. Talking. Xiao Yu waved his fist. It can be seen from this that he obviously thought too much. Lin An, you bastard, don't teach my students badly. At this moment, Zephyr's dissatisfied voice sounded. Lin An and Xiao Yu's words were always in his ears. Especially when I saw Xiao Yuna's appearance of going after power, my heart trembled. If he taught 1 person or a dozen people, Zephyr would not stop him, and even felt that it was right to do so. But with a huge number of 40,000 people, all training must be standardized. Otherwise, everyone has their own characteristics, and everyone does it according to their own ideas. That would just mess it up. In order for these 40,000 people to reach a unity, he spent half a month and fired nearly 1,000 people during the period. Listening to the words of punishment, Lin An shrugged. He doesn't care. Walking slowly to Zephyr's side, he asked curiously, is there any difference between educating pirates and educating marines? There is a difference, of course. Zephyr thought for a moment. A look of reminiscence appeared on his face. Obviously reminiscing about the days when first was teaching marine. Actually, it doesn't make much difference to me. After all, I'm a student. If I have to say something, marine is more rigid. Although rigid doesn't sound like a good word, it's better to be obedient. It is also because those who are qualified to be sent to me are people with great potential, so the overall strength is stronger. Zephyr's evaluation of marine is objective and pertinent. When it came time to evaluate the pirates, Zephyr was obviously a little out of order. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. The whole person showed signs of being about to collapse. Pirates are different. They are more active, so they are more difficult to manage in a regular way. As the saying goes, a rat droppings can ruin a pot of porridge. Those who originally came from island guards and state soldiers have been abducted. The difficulty of regulating them is not ordinary. In response, Lin An nodded in agreement. He didn't know about marine, so he didn't interrupt or respond. He still has a great say on the pirate side. That's what these pirates are. Of course, if they like to be bound, they will not choose to be pirates. With a strong body that can be a pirate, he can find a job in his hometown and make a living. Of course, the cheerful atmosphere of pirate life is quite good. Chapter 150 Jinbei asks for help, Dragon Palace Island incident. Advertise here. Chapter 150 Jinbei seeking help, the Dragon Palace Island incident. It can be seen that Zephyr's statement is still very reluctant. This is actually quite normal. After all, he has just become a pirate not long ago, and he has been fighting against pirates before. It's still a bit difficult to praise pirates, and it's a little bit reluctant. However, even so, it can be seen that he really wants to integrate into the Whitebeard Pirates. As long as you have this heart, that's enough, nothing else matters. Looking at Zephyr, Lin An continued with a teasing tone, it's really not easy to say good things about Guan Yu pirates from your mouth. Zephyr looked at Lin An's speechless expression. This kind of words that are obviously disgusting himself is too much to make him want to beat him up. Captain Lin An. At this time, running in a hurry, a man came over. Lin An recognized him. It's an old man from the 4th team. A strong man who has truly survived the Summit War and the 4 Emperors War. Didn't expect him to be alive till now. It is you. Lin An hurried forward to say hello. What's wrong? As such that, the visitor briefly talked about things with Lin An. Papa wants you and Zephyr instructor back. It is naturally impossible for a person with Zephyr's qualifications and strength to climb up from a small soldier. In addition, it is impossible for him to participate in the war with Marine. It just so happened that Zephyr was still a strong educator, so he handed over the reserve island to FA. Also has the title of instructor. It's just different from Lin An's instructor title. Lin An's, Whitebeard Pirates instructor, is a function of educating people. Zephyr's instructor title is famous and has the function of educating people. The Fishmen Island is coming. The Fishmen Island. Hearing what the visitor said, Lin An frowned slightly. There was a thoughtful look on his face. The Fishmen Island is one of the most important strategic locations of the Whitebeard Pirates. As a channel to communicate between New World and Grand Line, its geographic location is very critical. Before the Whitebeard Pirates were able to bypass the Red Line and go directly to Marineford, even during the Summit War, they used underwater diving to beat Sengoku by surprise. It is supported by the Fishmen Island. What happened to the Fishmen Island? Slightly frowned. Lin An's expression became serious. As long as the Fishmen Island is still in my hands, then whether it is the New World or the Grand Line, as long as the Whitebeard Pirates want to, then they can advance and retreat. If it is lost, it will not be so convenient. This place is the most important of all the spheres of influence of the Whitebeard Pirates. Accidents can happen anywhere, but not here. The mischievousness on his face disappeared, and Lin An immediately greeted the visitor. I'll go back with you. Let's go. Captain Lin An, wait a minute. Someone stopped Lin An. Father meant for you to go back with Zephyr instructor. Moby Dick aboard. Whitebeard, Marco, Ace, Josie, etc., except for Lin An, the other 16 captains are among them. Opposite Whitebeard stood a Murloc. It was Jinbei who had fought side by side with him before. After the Battle of the Four Emperors ended, Jinbei returned to the Fishmen Island. Unexpectedly he came back so soon. What happened? Lin An and Zephyr arrive. Since they are all from her own family, Lin An didn't mean to be polite. Jinbei can also be regarded as a familiar friend, but he has no intention of reminiscing about the old days. Straight to the point. Don't look at me. Whitebeard saw Jinbei looking at him without any dissatisfaction on his face. Just talk to Lin An directly. There is still a difference between first-hand news and second-hand news. Jinbei is a smart guy. Of course he knows that Lin An is the number 2 figure in the Whitebeard Pirates now, and he can be so unscrupulous in the Whitebeard Pirates, so he doesn't even care about such a big deal like Whitebeard. But, they inside the Whitebeard Pirates wouldn't bother with this kind of thing, but he had to. He is an outsider after all. We still have to do what we should do. Okay. After talking to Whitebeard, Jinbei turned his attention to Lin An. It's like this, Captain Lin An, we the Fishmen Island. Jinbei told Lin An about the Fishmen Island. Although I know you will be angry when you hear this, but we, the Fishmen Island, are also helpless. After all, Big Mom is also the 4 emperors. I see. Lin An nodded after listening. He also understood what happened. After the Summit War began, Big Mom thought that Whitebeard must die, and the Whitebeard Pirates would also decline. Then he sent people directly to the Fishmen Island, and took it under his command. Asking for flowers. The Fishmen Island said to consider, at least until the end of the Summit War, the Ant refused to directly issue orders to surrender or die. The Fishmen Island had no choice but to surrender. Jinbei was directly called away by the Marine side because of Shichibukai's relationship, so naturally he didn't know about it. Later, he was imprisoned on the 6th floor of Impel Down. He participated in the Summit War and the 4 Emperors War next. Follow the voyage. Lin An and others spent half a month recuperating, which happened to be a round trip between him and the Fishmen Island and the location of the Moby Dick. Jinbei came back after hearing about this incident after returning to the Fishmen Island. Because of the Summit War, the Whitebeard Pirates almost cut off all ties with its subordinate forces. 0. Coupled with the subsequent 4 Emperors War between the Whitebeard Pirates and the Beast's Pirates, the broken connection has never been restored. That is to say, in the past half a month, the communication was gradually established again. The Fishmen Island has not contacted for such a long time, they just think it is because the communication has not been restored. Unexpectedly, the house was stolen by the Ant and the Fishmen Island was taken away. Lin An's eyes are complex and difficult to see through. It was on his mind. In the final analysis, this matter really does not blame the Fishmen Island. However, after all, it is a betrayal. If you can understand it, you can understand it, but it is impossible to forgive. At least on the surface it can't be so easy. Otherwise, will the other forces of the Whitebeard Pirates be forced to surrender in the future? Is it time for the Whitebeard Alliance fleet to fall apart? The Fishmen Island is to be taken back. The punishment for the Fishmen Island should also be there. Jinbei looked at Lin An with regret in his eyes. Captain Lin An, this is the way it is. I've said everything I can and can't say. Nor do we, the Fishmen Island. It's just that it's really helpless. Have no choice. Listening to Jinbei's words, Lin An didn't give him any good looks. Looking at Jinbei with a slightly scrutinizing gaze, Lin An said coldly, how serious is the word betrayal, don't you know?